There we go, coming through. Yeah, sorry guys if you guys weren't hearing us until now. I've been leaving the soundboard on pretty much nonstop, and it's been acting funny the last few episodes. So I've been turning it off now, but because of that, all of the settings keep losing the soundboard, and I have to go and reset them and stuff. So, yes. Unfortunately, all the shenanigans being talked at the beginning, and also our introduction, but we'll start over and say hello, YouTube. Welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is roundtable number 125, and Peter threw it in the chat there.
Tad's a terrible person for saying that Oi viciously attacked, called Oi a savage beast who attacks boys on bridges.
Yes, indeed. Seems legit. We just covered that in our book club, and I don't think I'm lying, sir. I think it's just from a certain point of view, as those scoundrel Jedi say.
You stop it. You stop. You're already going off the rails. We're not even through our official intro.
We haven't even started the podcast
Yeah, we haven't
yet.
even officially started the podcast. You're a horrible person.
We're just in the YouTube side, and you're saying I'm taking things off the rails like Patricia, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we got a lively group already. I think this is probably the most we've had right at the start. Usually people trickle in as we get going here. But
Travis, Mike, Spencer, Robert, Carol, and Zach.
Yeah, indeed. So
Awesome.
hello everyone. But yeah, I think that pretty much catches you guys up with what we were saying when you guys couldn't hear us. But yeah, definitely got to look into the soundboard. I don't think we should need a new one already, but it's been acting really funny the last couple times we tried to record. So I don't know. Maybe we'll have to make sure we're testing things earlier, because I don't know, we're not late, but we were close to it. So yeah, let's go ahead and hit the intro and get started on the episode for the podcast side.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, The Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm the traumatized Peter.
We see, and then in the middle of the intro, there you'll hear Peter chiming in there because again, we were saying just before we started the podcast, we've been having soundboard issues. I had to shift Peter onto a completely different channel, so my normal habit of muting the two channels that would normally be us during the intro, I didn't mute Peter because
I will not be silenced.
He's on a different channel now. So I mean, you still can be. See, watch this.
No.
I love having that power.
Also recording me for sound bites later.
Yes, indeed. I mean,
so we're gonna have to talk about it now that we're on the podcast. Before we even do the intros, you're a terrible person.
I don't think so.
Yes, you are. He does a little sound bite testing the intro and the oi sound and the spoiler section for book clubs. All that is on a soundboard and everything like that here.
Oi.
Like that. He pushed that earlier to test it to see like the volume and it's coming through the headphones and everything like that. He goes, beast who attacks boys on bridges. Savage beast who attacks boys on bridges. That's just propaganda, sir. That is so misleading. He didn't attack anyone.
Sure he did.
No, he didn't.
Teeth, all his razor teeth going into the boy's hand. Terrible things. So much so that Roland starts to think about the death of Jake potentially, and that it's all in Kaw's hands. So
Stop it. Just stop it.
Oh, but let's go ahead and jump into the intro as I'm already getting Peter riled up here, and
I'm riled up from last night, you jerk.
Yes, we're fresh.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, we're fresh off of seeing the our gunslinger Idris Elba against a lion in the movie Beast. So That was a lot of fun. But we'll jump into the intro real quick. First, I want to warn you about spoilers. This is a roundtable, so things will be spoiled if you haven't finished the 7 primary books of the Dark Tower series. You may want to stick to our book club episodes. In those, we keep those episodes like 99% spoiler free. The spoiler sections at the very end, and we make sure it is quite clear that you're moving into that. So there's going to be no accidental spoilage there.
This is where you push the spoiler button.
But in these episodes, we will spoil freely. So if you haven't finished the series, go over to the book club, stick there until you finish the series. Next up, if you want to find us, you can find us on Apple Podcasting, stream us on Spotify or Stitcher or any podcasting service. On any of those, if you can subscribe, rate, and review us, as well as you can find us on YouTube. As a matter of fact, we've already referred to the YouTube side. If you want to join our live streams, for instance, it's over at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. All the people that Peter just listed a little bit ago, we have a bunch. I guess that was before the podcast, but we got a number of people in the chat now. It's always good to have people part of the episode along with us. If you want to be part of that, you can join us every fortnight. Generally speaking, we're actually on an off one right now. We had to delay last week's episode to today, so we'll have an episode next week as well. But if you want to join us live, you can do that, or you can just go onto YouTube. If you want to just watch the live streams after the fact, you could do that as well. Find that over there. If you want to subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, so that way you won't miss it. For instance, if you maybe fall behind and don't hear us announce that, hey, the one episode is going to be delayed a week or go forward a week, the notifications will always let you know, so you can find us no matter what. But we do try to make sure you guys are aware of those things. Next up, if you want to find the show notes, you can find that over at darktowerpalaver.com, as well as all things Dark Tower Palaver is there. That's pretty much the central hub. You can find links there for basically everything. The show notes, all the things that we cover in today's episode will be shown long form there as well. There will be links to where you can go and read everything, because I do take excerpts and stuff from all the things we're covering, as well as if there's images, or there might be some images in this episode that you may want to watch or go look at, or if you want to see. So, what are you glaring at me for, sir?
I don't trust you.
But you can find that over at the show notes. Then if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. Yesterday we just had a hangout where we just chatted through some random Stephen King stuff. We'll do another hangout next week because we're a little bit behind. You can have access to those, as well as the Discord server if you want to torment Peter throughout the week, like I do. I torment him every day.
Yep.
Send him images of the crate monkey from Creep Show. Just did that just before the show started. But you could do the same thing over on our Discord server if you join us on the Patreon side. Then if you want to contact us, Peter can let you know how to do that, as long as he's not too afraid by lions.
Yeah. The best way to reach us is email. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. And then our Twitter is @darktowerpod. That's @darktowerpod. Our Facebook is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And then our Instagram is Dark Tower Palaver, all one word with no spaces. And then check out our merchandise. It's tpublic.com/users/Dark Tower Palaver.
Indeed, and Travis has a point. They're always a problem bumbler.
No, he's not. Stop it.
Very, very troublesome.
No. No. Problem solver that bumbler is.
And then Josh asked if I get a lion for Peter. No, I actually legit thought to myself, I wonder if there's like a carny or someone I could hire that could bring a real lion outside the theater and join us after the movie. That would have been the absolute tops, but unfortunately it was not to be. So
That was terrible.
What, the movie?
Just all of it. Ugh.
Oh, it was great.
It was so bad.
It was wonderful. I definitely recommend it. It's not like over the moon great movie by any means, but it's probably a good medium, middle of the road, 6 or so out of 10 probably would be my guess.
Not a very long movie. Good,
not long. Yeah.
Good story though.
Yeah.
Add actually something a little bit more than just man fight lion.
Yeah.
That wasn't it. There was actually like some character development there that was actually kind of surprising to me.
Yeah.
And
Peter
everything.
screamed.
A few times.
Yeah, and you were squirming around quite a bit in the theater too. So it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
I came out, went to the bathroom right after the movie came out, and had my wife feel my heart. My heart was just going like a mile a minute. So
good fun. Hopefully we have more Beast movies in the future.
I also got like the worst night's sleep I've had in like 10 years last night, and so yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get some good werewolf movies and some other.
You know what? I'm officially changing my position on that. I don't want any.
No?
After last night, I learned my lesson. I don't want to do that again.
I do.
No.
And we will say too, for the Patreon side, we have different hangouts. I do promise that the October hangout will be a watch along for Creep Show.
Oh.
So got to see that crate monkey in full swing there. So
I don't want to.
but for now, we have so today's the 20th. We'll be back next week on the 27th for the Roundtable 126, and then going into September, we will have Book Club Part 18. So looking forward to that as well. See if Jake's going to survive his vicious attack from that vicious wild animal.
Oh, you stop it. Just stop.
Oh man,
Stop slandering Oi.
I don't know if it's slander, sir.
He's the best. You can't deny it. He is the best.
I mean, I would say Flag's the best.
No.
That seems to be.
He didn't win either bracket, so no.
Yeah, see, he likes to float under just under the top.
That's what they always say about mediocre things. He's always in the running, but no. If you're not the best, you're not the best.
What is it? The tallest flower is the one that gets plucked. You know. So Flag, he's smart enough to stay just below the surface there.
Yeah. Second place is still first loser.
Looks like Josh has to take off. Good to see you, Josh. Thanks for joining us here for a second. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump in. So we're covering. I'm trying to remember. Do we have? Or I guess we the biggest delay, quote unquote, would be the fact that we're coming off a book club too. So book club, as well as we delayed a week. So it does feel like it's been a minute since we did a roundtable, and there's a couple stories that are a little bit older. So let's go ahead and dive into the first one. This is a fun one. It says The Dark Tower. Why now is a perfect time to reboot Stephen King's novel series?
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
Hey, speaking of Idris,
with exactly. With Mike Flanagan would be my choice of the matter. You know, get Mr. Flanagan signed on there. You know, since Mr. Darabont is retired, there's no questioning. You know, the best choice there. This is by Dustin Pinney from MovieWeb from July 21st, 2022. And he says, when it comes to crafting an epic fantasy series, most writers dedicate a vast majority of their working life to the project. J.R.R. Tolkien and Robert Jordan created secondary worlds so immersive and detailed that they had very little time to tell stories not set in Middle-earth or the Randlands. That sounds like a Randy Flagg thing. I like that. I don't know what it's actually referring to, but
what was the author's name?
Robert Jordan and the Randlands.
Wheel of Time.
Is it Wheel of Time?
I'm just guessing.
Oh, guessing. Okay. And it says Stephen King, on the other hand, managed to craft a massive bestseller that mostly stood alone, except for some small connections to other works, with a 7-part saga stuck right in the middle. And again, it is.
It's Wheel of Time.
Okay, it is something that we really have to marvel at. He's not wrong. I mean, even smaller things, like the dude that created Hannibal Lecter has only written, that I know of. Maybe he's written something in the last decade, but that I know of, he only wrote one other book that wasn't in the Hannibal series, and then every other book he's written for 30-something years has been Hannibal Lecter related. So it's like that, or like J.R. Tolkien. I mean, and not only did Tolkien and his world eat up all of his life, but his son's life was completely immersed in Midworld too. So just the thought that Stephen King created such a world as Midworld and The Dark Tower in the midst of writing 50-something novels, I guess, because he's
62
60,
is what was,
but if 8 of them are Dark Tower, so call it 50-something novels. Outside of the fact that he wrote
they're all Dark Tower novels in some way. Right? It's all on different levels of the tower.
So what you're saying is Annie Wilkes is somewhere in Midworld?
Oh, yeah.
Running around? Mm-hmm. Now, would she be worse in Midworld?
She was probably Sylvia Pinkston.
Pittston. Your favorite character from book 1?
No.
I mean, yeah, you got some of the religious stuff there, and, both are... I don't know. I think Annie's much
crazy.
Worse. I think Annie's much, much worse.
They're both crazy.
Then he goes on and says, the Dark Tower books tell a story of Roland Deschain, the last gunslinger on a quest to find the Dark Tower, the apex of all realities, and climb to the top floor. It's a wild series full of new takes on mythology, despicable villains, like Oi.
Flag.
And flawed heroes, Flag.
you stop that.
that serve at the spine of King's entire literary multiverse. Adapting any part of it to film would be difficult, but not impossible. And as we've seen, yes, it is difficult. Two attempts now have come and gone. One we saw, one we did not. So, and then it goes on and says, there was an attempt to bring Roland to the big screen in 2017, starring Idris Elba, also starring in Beast this weekend. And he says in parentheses, an inspired choice, which definitely agreed. Called The Dark Tower, but it was too different from the source material and failed to ignite the demand for a series or film, a series of films that the books deserve. However, with Hollywood's current interest in multiverses and the success of horror films like the Black Phone, as outlined by Collider, and the It films, which ties to the Dark Tower, this may be the perfect time to try and bring the book back to the big screen, and here's why. And he has some different, reasons outlined.
He
there.
just pointed out that It is connected to the Dark Tower. How awesome would it be is if instead of Dandelo or the other one, the three on the bridge...
Yeah.
At the Castle Discordia. What if they just did Pennywise? What if they just got Skarsgård? Maybe not in the makeup and everything like that, but
who's
just
that?
made him
Warner
like,
Brothers.
Yeah.
So then we'd have to have Warner Brothers do it, or it would be on HBO, which is connected to Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So if HBO, which is already our choice
Yeah.
anyway, HBO along with
exactly.
Mike Flanagan directing. No,
if they just did that and just did it where not even Pennywise, but just gets
yeah,
Skarsgård to play him.
That's
and
what I
just
was
make
going to
him
say. Is,
human.
yeah, I wouldn't make it Pennywise, but I would get Skarsgård to play.
Because how awesome would that be? You're just like, oh my god, that's the guy who played Pennywise,
and have him do the drifting eye,
the drifting eye, and everything.
And dude, what if he even just did the Pennywise chuckle? That's it. Just that and the eye, and like that's all you need. Like that's
because those aren't
that's
copyrighted little things. So.
I mean, but if it was for HBO anyway, it's all into the same.
Then it doesn't matter.
The same corporate conglomerate owns both,
Yeah.
so there wouldn't be any issues. But I could see that. If I don't know, who else would you see for Dandelo? I think Mark Hamill comes to mind. I know I keep casting him in a lot of different ways, but him as Dandelo, I mean, he could play a pretty good comedic, villainous creature, I believe.
I mean, he's done it a few times.
He
now.
is the Joker, right?
Yeah.
So and now that Tim Curry is recovered, he could be Blaine the Mono, and then you can get Mark Hamill to play Dandelo.
Mike says Robert England. As Dandelo.
He could do
That's
that too.
Freddy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has a very historic place in the Star Wars franchise. He came home one day and told his roommate, "Hey, they're doing these auditions for some stupid sci-fi movie. You should go audition."
Harrison?
Mark Hamill's
Mark Hamill.
he's like, "Oh, okay, I'll go audition." So, yeah, Mr. Freddy Krueger is
okay.
pretty iconic in the Star Wars.
He's the reason we have Luke Skywalker being so short.
And a future Joker.
Yeah.
Because we probably would have had a Luke Skywalker anyway, but God knows how it would have turned out differently.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think a Mark Hamill would be a good one. But yeah, Dandelo that'd probably be one of the funnest casting ones that you could probably do.
If you really want to mess with people, you make it the actor that voiced Blaine. So they're just kind of like,
yeah.
why does that voice sound familiar? But it doesn't have like the robotic tint to it and everything like that, and everything. It's just like that sounds so familiar. And then you realize it later, like
yeah. Kind of like Eddie's mom playing Eddie's wife in It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Which still just makes me, not fun. Okay, so his first point is the spine of King's worlds. And he says, beginning with the novel The Gunslinger, The Dark Tower is an epic sci-fi, fantasy, horror, western series, which I always love how people describe the Dark Tower series, because really... I think even there was some time, probably 100 episodes or so back, where we were talking to people. We're like, "Hey, how do you explain this series to your friends?" Like,
that was one of the questions originally, wasn't it?
It wasn't like on our intro questions or
okay.
anything, but it was something we called out to people. Where it's like, "Hey, if you had 100 words, or you have an elevator ride to tell your friends and pitch your friends on the Dark Tower, like, how do you fucking explain this series?" And we had a number of people respond with a lot of interesting ways to do it, and not a single two were alike.
Not even close.
It was like snowflakes. Every single one of them were different, because this series is indescribable in a lot of ways. So I always love when I find an article and they describe it, because it's just, how do you do it? And he says it's set in an alternate reality called Midworld. It's a post-apocalyptic landscape where inhabitants are doomed to wander and serve as playthings or food, which is always a fun thing to think about, to bizarre creatures still roaming this hellish place. When we first meet the gunslinger Roland Deschain, he is hunting a wizard referred to as the Man in Black to seek revenge for the fall of his home.
Speaking of food.
Too soon. Too soon. How dare you? I was thinking Jake's hand being food, you
I
know?
was thinking about Flag's eyeballs being food for Mordred. You know?
How dare you? How dare you?
Just like popping grapes.
You're celebrating the death of the hero of the story.
Not the
I hope
hero.
you know that.
Notice how the story doesn't end at that point.
I mean, may as
Because if
well,
he was the
it
hero-
may as well have. I mean,
If he was the hero, that's where the story, and that's where the tragedy of the hero. The
that's
hero
where King.
tragically dies.
That's where King should have come in and went. Well, at this point, the story's over. If you want to keep reading, fine. But it's just it's
But
not
it's
important.
not about him because he's not the hero. He's the bad guy, and they were up in the ante by having another bad guy eat him.
Yeah. That's why he is the most reviled, one of the most reviled characters in the series. Is because he killed Flag.
Last I checked, he didn't win, did he?
No, he was up there though.
But he didn't win.
No, he didn't. But let's be honest,
Yeah.
we knew it was only going to go one way with that one. Like we had some thoughts, like maybe Cordelia, maybe Mordred.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it was like this is a one-horse race, man. Like it would have been an absolute upset if that had not.
There we go. Rhea and her snake versus Jake and Oi. Who wins that fight?
I mean, I don't know. Rhea's she's kind of hard to overcome there. We don't even know how it ended with her. So,
Jake is like a gunslinger and an apprentice kind of thing. So
Yeah.
and then the Billy Bumbler is more than a match for
unless
a
she's
snake.
driving a van. Man, there's
We are on one. Both of us are on one today, aren't we?
yeah. Well, see, me and Hayden went and had some beverages after the movie, so
Oh,
yeah,
did
maybe
ya?
I'm a little bit punchy from a lack of sleep as well. Just not for
Oh,
the same
geez.
reasons you are. I mean, once I actually got home and got in bed, I slept like a baby, just perfectly.
I
So-
tossed and turned all night.
Did you have lion dreams?
I had one that I mean I probably had more, but I can remember one.
Yeah.
It was. Oh,
That's how you know you got your money's worth with a horror movie, sir. is if it has, I mean, I haven't had that
You know
effect
the-
since I was a teenager.
You know
but
the worst part about it is that living in an apartment, I have a swimming pool there and everything like that. It's an outdoor swimming pool. I dreamed I was swimming and the lion was stalking me. So like, because there's a scene where Idris Elba's in a river or like a pond or like in a body of water, and the lion's nearby. And so I was in the pool trying to avoid the big fucking lion. Not fun.
yeah.
Hey, Carol says Jake shoots her and Oi eats the snake. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's that hard of a fight for Jake.
Yeah.
I think he kills that old biddy.
I do still need closure on Rhea, by the way.
I would absolutely
Like
love a short story.
just a short story,
yeah.
yeah. Just show me that last face off with her and Roland, because Roland says I encountered her one more time.
I would love that it's not even like hinted at. That we're just, hey, we're getting a new short story with Roland on his adventures, and it's like, fuck yeah! Roland set out. He's on this quest, and everything like that. Is this like
Yeah.
a sequel to the Sisters of Illyria?
Yeah.
Is this like after, like then all of a
Yeah.
sudden he comes across the town and there's Rhea? Just, I can tell you right now, I would go crazy.
Yeah, that would immediately become one of the all-time best short stories, I think. Just because, yeah, I think all of us have a lot of bloodlust for Rhea.
Mike makes a prediction that says 5% chance that Rhea's in Fairy Tale.
Witches and fairy tales do go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So do werewolves and beasts.
Just stop it.
What is it?
stop.
Little Red Riding Hood. I mean, even the three bears. Coming home and eating that little girl. So just all kinds of monstrous things happen in those fairy tales. So
Witches eating children and
yeah,
whatnot.
candy houses and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
It says the capital city, Gilead. Fans of King's pandemic novel, The Stand, will recognize the object of Roland's vengeance as Randall Flagg. Such a glorious character. The dark entity corrupting
He
the
didn't say that. Don't put words in his mouth.
corrupting the survivors of Captain Trips. This is only one of.
Corrupting. Notice he doesn't say leading or redeeming or anything like that. Corrupting.
As we were talking about the other day, sir. Vegas had the power on quickly. There was no crime.
There were also people being crucified.
Oh, probably out in Indian Springs, probably decommissioning nuclear weapons.
Oh yeah, yeah, probably. They were talking about bombing Boulder.
Oh, Oh man! It says this is only one of the many connections the Dark Tower shares with King's earlier works or other works. The titular tower itself stands at the center of all realities as a kind of support structure, meaning that the series is the spine that holds the entire King bibliography together. Even works that don't directly refer to Roland and the Crimson King or various other Midworld residents, which is the best thing. Because really, multiverses are all the rage now, but King's been doing it for decades. I mean, I wouldn't say he's been doing it earlier than everyone else, because I know Marvel and DC have done multiverse stuff in their comic pages for decades.
Yeah.
But I would say that, King is kind of ahead of the curve to do it outside of those realms.
Well, we have it very, very early on. I mean, yeah, you're talking about like multiverses and stuff like that, dating back to what, like the 70s with Marvel?
60s potentially. I don't remember when the first time it really crops up in Marvel, but
let's play it safe and let's call it the second decade of Marvel is the 70s when they did it.
Yeah.
The first time,
Yeah.
Let's just call it safe and there. It might be before, it might be during, it might be after.
Yeah.
But King started doing like linking stories even in a small way.
Small ways are early on, because it's that'd be an interesting thing to do. Is next time one of us are going through any of the first couple novels, let's try to find the first crossover. Like, even if it's a small thing, like I think I know what it is. Like that dog over in Castle Rock.
That one.
That's not very early though. I'm just wondering.
I think that's Pet Cemetery. I think it's that early.
See, I'm trying to think here, because Cujo doesn't come out until that's the 12th book of that he's done. So I'm wondering if, like, in this realm, like Carrie, Salem's Lot, The Shining, Rage, Night Shift, or something, or The Stand, if there's anything that carries over. I don't know. It'd be interesting to look into and find what is the earliest crossover in the King universe.
Yeah, it says that Lewis Creed, when he first regales her with the story of the misspelled Pet Cemetery, that in the woods behind his new home, it's a reference to Cujo, of course. Although the killer dog isn't buried in the woodland graveyard.
That would be 1983 for Pet Cemetery and number 18 for the novels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if there is something earlier than that.
Yeah, because, like, maybe something Christine.
But okay, so does it have to... what you're asking is, does it have to... Because if anyone in the content wants to do this and send in an email, let us know. We'll read it next week. We're recording next week, so yeah, let us know if you find something or if you know something.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, do you want a direct correlation where it's like a killer car or a killer dog where it's like that, or just like two towns mentioning Derry?
Yeah.
Two novels mentioning Derry?
I think it could be as minimal as possible, because I remember, like, back in the 90s when Batman and Robin, I think it was Batman and Robin, and they mentioned Metropolis. Yeah. And I remember as a kid just freaking out, because up to that point, like, no one ever connected anything. Everything was always in its separate box and stuff. So I would say as something as small as would it be maybe the Shawshank prison potentially getting mentioned elsewhere? I do know that
gets mentioned
quite a bit.
That gets mentioned in it. I know that for a fact because
Needful Things mentions it.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of that right now.
Castle Rock gets mentioned a ton, and so does
But
Derry.
see, Different Seasons is book 15 in 1982. So it's like, again, that's still jumping over a shitload of books.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there's some small reference somewhere in that first, like, 10 books carry through road work, or which that's a Bachman novel, so take out Long Walk and Road Work, because it wouldn't have been those. And I guess that would then, Dan's Macabre isn't that's a nonfiction one. That's King talking about the horror genre, so that really puts it up to Cujo. Carry to Cujo. That's kind of the realm I'm wondering if there's something in there, because we know Cujo almost gets as many references as Shawshank, because there's a lot of things that reference like this.
Well, Cujo's set in Castle Rock, isn't it? Like on the outskirts of it's in Castle Rock County, I think is what it is, but not Castle Rock proper.
Yeah.
But I want to pause real fast. Jack says, "Hi all, been a long time since I've been in the chat. Hope you're all well. Long story short, and I now have an 8-month-old daughter. I've caught up on the podcast, and I'm very glad to catch you live."
Oh, congratulations, Jack.
Congratulations. Welcome
and
back.
Welcome back.
Glad to have you back. And then I see Agamorphia. I don't know if we mentioned Agamorphia earlier, but Agamorphia
we do
as well.
The counter is higher than it was, so maybe we've had
we have a lot of people here. I love it.
And then Carol says King and the Simpsons did it first.
Dang right.
I'm legit. Because I am wondering. So I think that's the challenge. Is there anything in the Carrie to Cujo realm? Because again, that takes the Bachman novels out. Because
I want to say that one of the very early on novels mentions the Lot, not Salem's Lot. but one of the other novels mentions Jerusalem's
Because I'm
Lot.
guessing The Shining probably doesn't, because The Shining's so far removed, being over in Colorado.
Right.
But yeah, it'd be interesting. That's something. I mean, of course, we're tangenting here, but yeah, it's interesting for sure. But yeah, I love the connected realm. Again, as a kid that geeked out quite a bit just because they mentioned the name Metropolis in a really bad Batman movie. That was enough to geek me out. So of course, yes, it doesn't have to be a big grand thing.
Anytime like that, it links when you're not expecting it, especially.
Yeah,
there's one.
I still geek out about it, dude. Like in modern books, like something like one in the last 4 or 5 books, there was like a pretty big reference to something else in King's Universe.
Dude,
I was just like,
I freaked out when 11/22/63 had the part set in Derry.
Yeah,
and it's in 1958.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
Then we met 2 of the Losers Club. And
Wasn't it
everything
right
like that.
after the?
It was the school year after, because they were doing a talent show, and they talked about it in it, where the 7 of them never got together again after that, and they never got together again because of Stan. So they got together sometimes as many as 4, but never more than that.
Yeah.
So,
but doesn't he also kind of get a strange vibe from a sewer? So it's not
and the
necessarily.
Barons.
It's not.
I think you're thinking of the Barons. And then he drives out to the Kitchen Ironer Works and gets creeped out by that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I see Ag Murphy apologizing. It's been a bit. No worries at all. But yeah, we definitely miss you guys when you guys aren't around. And we do notice, it's not that we're like keeping track, but it's always, there's some of you guys are just the regulars, and when we don't see some of you guys for a bit, it's definitely when we get it.
Life happens.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
there's a reason why we didn't record last week. It is because life happened for me. So,
yeah, indeed.
We get it.
It pretty much happens a couple times a year for us in the summer. Every year
in the summer. It always seems to line up where we have to have.
In fact, I think we warn people now when we announce our schedule, where it's just like, hey, in the summer, all bets are off. Like there's going to probably be some movement when it comes to the summer. So, but his next point is adaptation and sequel. It says the 2017 film wasn't exactly an adaptation of the source material. Fans who stuck with Roland's literary journey from start to finish will tell you that the climax of the final book loops back to the first book while hinting at new possibilities. As the climax, or this climactic Roland, Idris Elba carries a very important artifact with him, which suggests that the film actually takes place at the end of the books. He says you just have to read them to understand. This means that the movie is more of a sequel to the than an adaptation, giving the filmmakers free rein to pick and choose elements from the books to include without beholding themselves to what happens on the page. It says this also makes it possible for a more faithful adaptation to be made and set itself apart from the previous film. So yes, definitely. That was actually probably one of the things I was most excited for with the film is the horn. I think that was given away pretty early on in the marketing material and stuff. So I still kind of like that idea. But yeah, if again, I'm just putting it out in the universe. Mike Flanagan adapting the Dark Tower. If he were to do it, I would be okay if he went direct adaptation. In fact, I think no matter what, though, even on the sequel version, if the films had panned out, I think the ending still has to be the ending. I don't think you could resolve it, right? Isn't that it's kind of like that'd be like having Game of Thrones without the Red Wedding. I think like the ending of the Dark Tower series looping back on itself is kind of one of the biggest elements of the series. So I don't think that we can allow the films to actually resolve Roland's damnation.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think you can, man. That'd be like the Red Wedding not happening in the adaptation of the series for Game of Thrones. It would just be. I think it's one of the most definitive things about the series for people that have read it. So I think that you've got to let audiences that are watching that have never read experience the same thing we experienced. Now, if you wanted to do like an extra episode, imagine that. Film an episode where you like actually go through and resolve and maybe cycle back to that moment on a different cycle, and then you meet like almost like the end of The Stand where you had that one episode that's kind of different or whatever. Do something like that, but then what if they held on to it and didn't release it for a number of years? They filmed it, didn't tell anyone, and then at just some point they're just like, hey, surprise, like 2 years later we got a one last episode that we recorded while we were doing the whole final season of the Dark Tower. Here's a could you imagine if they announced it in advance too? They're like, hey, 2 months from now we've got one last episode.
Would you be upset if that resolution was in concurrence with Stephen King and had Stephen King help?
Oh, he'd have
write
to.
it?
He'd have to.
Yeah. I think that if Stephen King was a part of it and he's like, this is going to put a final nail in the coffin of the Dark Tower series. Like, this is this is it. I'm in
Well,
my 70s and everything like that.
I don't know if he would go that far. I think it would be this is the finale. This is the final thing for Roland. But I mean, King just said recently, because he was asked in an interview where he was asked about doing another Dark Tower book, and he's like, honestly, at this point, everything's kind of Dark Tower for me. You know, everything's kind of connected in one way or the other.
It's connected in some way.
But I think that would be the nail in the coffin for Roland's story, where it's like this is the finale of Roland's story.
Of Roland's story,
You
yeah.
know?
And
Yeah.
if he did that and he's in charge, like involved with that episode, absolutely sign me up. I'd be perfectly okay with it.
And honestly,
if they did it without him, and it's Flanagan, I'm fine with it. If
Yeah.
they did it without him and it's not Flanagan, I'm going to be a little bit more guarded about that.
Yeah, suspicious.
But if it's Flanagan, dude, give him the reins and the keys to the kingdom and let him go.
Yeah.
Like I'm done with this. Like, well, we have to protect the ending. It's the book and it's the cycle and everything like that. If it's Flanagan, give it to him.
Yeah.
I mean, he deserves the keys to the kingdom. Let him do it. Let him have Gilead. You know.
Yeah. Mike says that would be leaked out by the crew. Honestly, I don't believe that. There's been a number of things over the last couple years that have happened and did not get leaked. So
How did Captain America and the Hammer not get leaked in Endgame?
yeah, I mean, there's that. I mean, even going further back, like the whole bamboozling in Iron Man 3, like the entire marketing around, you know, the Mandarin and stuff, and that whole thing was just a complete red. Like that didn't get didn't get leaked. I just feel like there is stuff that's happening, and I do think that I don't know. I think
it's kind of a matter of pride for some of these crews now to be the ones that don't leak versus ones that do.
And here's the other thing. What if they just what if it's so close to what they're filming anyway that the director is just like slyly doing different takes and they don't even realize that they're building,
until he puts
you know,
it together.
yeah, it's just alternate takes that like he's literally doing. Hey, just out of curiosity, let's just try this, you know.
No, I didn't like it. Go back to the original, but he's got it now. He's got it on film, and he's like,
there could be some sort of evil genius thing like that.
And if there's anyone that's an evil genius in Hollywood, it's Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, now what degloving would we get in the Dark Tower series? That's the real question.
I don't think know about degloving, but someone loses some fingers.
Yeah, we could turn that into degloving. What if then he had to amputate his fingers himself?
Oh, like it rips off everything but the bone and like a little bit, and he has to do it himself.
Yeah,
that's even worse than just it's gone. You know, like we talked about this,
and then he has to burn them to like cauterize.
Yeah, we just talked about this at work a little while ago. Would it be worse for one injury or another injury? And you're like, it would be worse to have this one because it's longer lasting.
Yeah,
like I can't remember what the two words.
I don't know,
but you remember that conversation?
No,
right?
I don't remember the conversation.
We were talking about like a broken leg or like dislocated joint or something like that. It's like, well, dislocated joint, you pop it back in and it's kind of sore. But
I think
bone,
it might be somebody else. Yeah, it wasn't. I don't think I had that.
I thought it was with you, but it was the talk was like the lingering and the how fast it is. Like just amputating a finger versus breaking a bone.
Yeah.
Well, if you break a bone and set it and everything like that, you have to deal with that for however long.
Like
you know?
Stu.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How long does his leg deal with it? But an amputation, take the fingers off, rolling. I mean, that's it. It's it's kind of done at that point. You know.
Yeah.
You just got to stop the bleeding and cauterize the wound.
But yeah, if they just got him and then he like pulled away and it just degloved his fingers, and then he just knew that like that there's the danger of infection, so he literally has to use his gunslinger knife to fucking take those digits off, and then like
and he's got to take off like his shooting fingers too.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. So yeah,
it's not even like a pinky or anything.
Yeah. And then Jack says, could we have the whole ending be the post-credit scene, similar to how the book finished with Roland entering the tower? I thought about that, but I really think if you wanted to go alternate, it's got to be more than just like a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
To me, that's why I'm thinking like have a whole other episode. And I'm honestly wondering if it's a longer episode, almost movie-ish. Like instead of just being a 1 hour thing, it's an hour and a half or even maybe 2 hours. And then again, because then you almost play it like a movie where HBO is just like, hey, surprise, a couple years later, we've got a movie that we're going to be releasing, that was directed by Mike Flanagan, and it's the final to The Dark Tower. Let's see. And then, let's see. Carol, talking to Jack and Agamorphe. It looks like everyone's just Eggers. Robert Eggers gets brought up. Yeah.
Someone mentioned that earlier in the chat. They brought up. I think it might have been Travis actually. Also, yeah, he says this has to get done eventually, talking about the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
Also, after seeing The Northman, I think Robert Eggers should do it. He can mix the horror and the action and has a talent for setting the atmosphere. Sorry, Travis, I read that and meant to say it and I forgot. My bad.
How dare you?
I caught it. I owned it. Come on.
Yeah, no. I mean, and Flanagan is just so like he's one of my favorites right now,
Flanagan.
man. There's a lot of good people out there right now. I mean, I'm just blanking. Ari Aster is great right now too. There's some good people, but man, just Flanagan is just.
I just don't know if
something else.
I like Ari Aster. I've seen the horror movies that he's done, a couple of them. But can he do like the action and the drama as well?
I'm just throwing him out as like a good filmmaker. I'm just but for me, Flanagan is the be all end all when it comes to King. Kind of like it used to be with Mr. Darabont. You know.
Yeah.
In fact, we still know that at one point Darabont was asking about doing the Dark Tower series. That's why the Dark Tower poster's in the mist. And Stephen King says, "No, go ahead and go do some of your own things. Like quit focusing on my stuff."
Why?
Oh, yeah. But, okay, so his next point here is multiverse mania. He says the concept of multiverses has existed in fiction for decades, while shows like Sliders and Star Trek explored that possibility for years, which, I guess that's true. The original Star Trek series had it in the 60s.
Oh, yeah.
They had the mirror universe where, like, Kirk and Spock were evil and the Federation was, like totalitarian and stuff. So, yeah, that would predate even, because, like, that would have been, like, early 60s when those came out, so that would have been even in the very early days of the kind of the modern Marvel era was starting. So Star Trek even hasn't beat. So it says the big budget Hollywood movies have avoided tackling it to a large degree with masterpieces, or with the masterpiece that was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse winning an Academy Award for Best Animated Film. However, the floodgates have been opened. On the small screen, we have had the epic CW crossover event Crisis on Infinite Earth, connecting their shows to the wider DC universe. Spider-Man No Way Home finally gave us a live-action Spider-Man team-up we've been waiting for. Doctor Strange meets Reed Richards and Charles Xavier in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Then there's a surprise hit, Everything Everywhere All at Once, using the multiverse as a tool for tugging on those heartstrings. And I got to pause and just say, I think I've said it before, but if you haven't seen that movie, everyone, watch it. It's one of my favorite movies. I'll even go so far as say it is the absolute best multiverse movie I've ever seen. Very great movie. Then he goes on and says the groundwork to explore the dazzling breadth of King's own multiverse, and there's no better way to do that than giving the audience the Dark Tower. And that's true. I mean, I don't know how rights work and all that, but I mean, you certainly gotta.
See, the thing is with rights is like you got to do it like The Mist. Like there's a silhouette of a cowboy. Well, I mean, no one has that copyrighted, but we know what it is as Dark Tower fans.
Yeah.
Okay, if they have a Saint Bernard in their movie, well, that's you can't trademark a Saint Bernard.
No, but they're all beasts anyway. So
stop that.
In fact, I heard the last Beethoven movie just massacred the whole family.
You saw. That movie's called Cujo.
Again, that's what you should do for every kid. Let them watch Beethoven and go, here's the second Beethoven, and watch Cujo.
No. And then we'd just be like, we watch Cujo, then we go, here's Cujo 2, and then turn on Beast. Cujo with cats.
Now, I will say, there was that Clifford movie a year or so ago. That is my only time I'd be interested. If you did a rabid, giant red dog,
oh God,
you know, the streets run red with the blood of the innocent as this giant fucking rabid dog is just massacring people, that would be a fucking killer movie.
Just like the Winnie the Pooh movie.
Yeah, blood or Honey and Blood or
Honey and
whatever.
Blood
it is.
and Honey.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, they're making a Winnie the Pooh has gone into the public domain. So someone's taking Winnie the Pooh and Piglet and turning them into killers and making a flat-out slasher movie with them.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Mike says Godzilla versus Clifford. Godzilla just picks him up and it's like a squeaky toy.
And then his next point and his last point is horror is big business. He says financial success in the horror genre ebbs and flows. During the early parts of the 1990s, horror was considered dead. Instead of gory slasher flicks, audiences wanted psychological terrors like Silence of the Lambs. Until Scream was released and the genre was rejuvenated. The same can be said for nearly every decade. Eventually, the audience's attention moved elsewhere, and movies intended to horrify you fall out of fashion for a bit. However, with the massive successes of It and It Chapter 2, The Black Phone, and the reboot of Halloween and Scream if they prove anything, it's that people are craving really good horror movies. The Dark Tower may not be exclusively horror, but it blends the genres. It could be a kick in the pants that this genre needs is to usher in a whole new wave of genre-bending horror, which, I would... I would love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I love. I mean, Bone Tomahawk is one of my favorite examples of kind of genre bending. The whole thing of just like
you like the mix and match horror.
Yeah, because
it's also
horror western. It's just not so it's like cool. How many times am I going to watch like some suburban high school dealing with like some sort of like killer, whether it be supernatural or one of their friends in a costume? How many times? I mean, I'll watch every one of them. I'm not talking shit on those because I love them all. But to then suddenly change where it's like it's cannibalistic cave dwellers in like the Old West.
Steak is great. I love steak, but man, every now and then I feel like some chicken. You know,
I
that
don't know
kind of
about
thing.
that, but yes.
I feel like a nice sub or a change of pace.
Yeah,
and that's what you're talking about with Bone Tomahawk. Is that's where you're like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go get me a nice alternative to a steak,
some pasta or
I
something.
can't think of anything better than steak, anything even close to steak right now. Go hit up an Italian place or a Mexican place. Go get a nice enchilada or a burrito or something.
Yeah.
Versus having steak every single night. Because you're right. There's going to be slashers. There's going to be horror films like that. I mean, you were just telling me about one last night. You're ranting and raving about X.
Yes,
just the movie.
That's not really a genre bending.
But it's
one.
not. Exactly. It's not a genre bending one.
Great horror though.
But again, you love movies like that. But then you have ones like Midsummer.
Yeah.
That one was out there, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about is those ones that are just like off the cuff, Bone Tomahawk, Midsummer, and stuff like that. They get you and you're just like, yes.
Yeah.
I'm here for that.
Indeed. And I think Dark Tower could... I mean, it is that. Like, there's elements of it that are so horror that it might inspire a whole realm of genre bending.
And Travis is saying Northman is another one of the genre bending with Viking horror.
Yeah, did you watch that?
I still haven't seen it.
Okay, good old Alexander Skarsgård that played the lovable Randall Flagg in the
really?
Stan miniseries is the main character in that. So that's a good one. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. All right, so that's it for that article. We tangented our way through that one quite a bit, but it's all
that's
good.
What we're here for.
That's what we do, right? If we're maybe that'll be a new T-shirt design at some point. Is like
tangents is what we do.
Like no, I don't even know how you do it, but something tangents with our logo, like that would be something we'd have to
just say something like, so flag is the anyway. Oi, it just like it shows us like getting off topic.
Isn't that just the at the root of the Dark Tower though? Like, if the Dark Tower was synopsized, isn't it just like, so there's this Western...
Oh, wait, hold on. Before I get to that part, let me tell you about this part.
Yeah, and then it's like, and then suddenly, like, this guy's on a beach with these giant, like, man-eating crabs.
And there's also a giant mechanical bear. Also, there's a psychotic train that makes you riddle with it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if we're just going through and just, like, dropping stuff
I want to ride
like
Blaine, dude.
No.
I want to ride. That would be really fun.
I would rather face Shardik than ride Blaine.
Really? Yeah. Oh, man. Not me, man. That would be fun. It goes translucent, see everything, and
that would make you sick.
Yeah, maybe, but
it makes them sick. So
maybe, but it would be fun. Let's see.
Jack says, I think I missed it when listening to a previous roundtable, but can I ask, what is the title of the new upcoming Non-Dark Tower podcast? And we have not.
Yeah, we haven't announced it yet. We're waiting to get everything buttoned down with it. So
we don't want to announce something and then have someone go steal a Twitter handle or something from us.
Yeah,
unfortunately, I actually watched that happen to someone once.
Yeah,
they're like, "Yeah, I'm going to do this. This is really cool." And then he came back on like the week later, and he's like, someone took it.
And literally the only thing we're waiting on right now is getting a logo designed by my buddy Hayden, which has been joined us in the chat before. He's been on Palaver a tad.
Yeah.
He designed our current logo and stuff.
He went with us to Beast last night and laughed at me.
No, he was screaming and squirming quite a bit too. But he's designing us a logo. I need to get a logo, and then I need to actually set up the actual... The only thing I don't have set up right now is the actual podcast.
Yeah.
So the last thing I'd want to do is like lose the most important thing, you know what I mean? So we're gonna hold off until I have the logo, and then I'll be able to set up the podcast. Then we'll have the full announcement as well as the actual schedule, because all of that will kind of fall in line. But that's why we haven't announced the title yet. But very excited for it though. Can't wait to be able to watch American Werewolf in London.
No, Jack, no, you can't suggest that. No.
Beast talk, yeah.
No.
And we get like a stage, and it's like, welcome to Beast. It's like a '90s like
It's got a
variety show.
Got a taxidermied lion and the werewolf from Werewolf in
American Werewolf in London.
in London.
Yeah.
One from The Howling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not on that show.
Yeah. And we just have like
I'm gonna be at home. You can just put me up on a screen. How about that?
I'd get Beasts there. Your wife would help
I
me.
know she would.
Then Mike says the title for the new show, Friends for Flag. Yeah, I mean,
No.
yeah, there we go. We should get something
I was
flag related.
I was joking around with Tad. We were trying to come up with names, and I'm just like, let's just put it down as Tad Tortures Peter.
And I mean, I mean, that's really what it's going to be, but let's not call it that.
Let's not just call it out, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this is actually fun. The second round table in a row that we're going to be covering one of my favorite things, The Simpsons.
Okay.
So it was announced, The Simpsons season 34 to parody It.
All right.
And then let's see. Then it has some other stuff in the headlines here, but none of it's really as important. But this is by Michael Schneider from Variety on July 23rd, 2022. It says, Krusty the Clown is Pennywise. Stephen King's evil character from It has become a popular tattoo image. Now it will become part of the Simpsons canon. One of this falls 2 Treehouse of Horror episodes. So did you catch that?
2?
This season's 2 Treehouse of Horror episodes.
Whoa.
Will be a full-length parody of It. So not only is there 2, but one of them,
Part one.
all 20 minutes of
Yeah.
it is going to be It.
Wow.
So not like a third of, whatever. They don't chop it up in it. Because so that's like, this is big. This is kind of a big deal. They've never
done 2
broken.
before.
Yeah, they've never broken the mold in terms of duplicating and how, because like ultimately maybe they could have just done one at some point where it was all one story. They haven't done that. They always break it up into thirds. But this time, rather than overriding the normal thirds, they're going to create a whole secondary Treehouse Horror episode. So that was revealed by executive producer Matt Selman at San Diego Comic-Con. It says, as previously reported, The Simpsons will air a double dose of Treehouse of Horror episodes on this upcoming 34th season. That marks the first time that the show's history there have been 2 Treehouse of Horror episodes in a single Halloween. The first episode will take the traditional form of 3 different vignettes, but the It parody will be the first time Treehouse is focused on a single story for its entire half hour. We've never done... And this is a quote, we've never done a single fantastical, bloody, scary, dark story told over the scope of a 20-minute and 40-second seconds that is an episode, Selman told Variety, which is crazy. They're down to 20 minutes and 40 seconds now.
Good Lord.
I mean, they used to be like 24 minutes or something.
I guess you got the credits, the opening and closing credits that take
and then
up time.
commercials have eaten that much more into it. That's crazy to me. He says, I think the fans are going to be really excited. Certainly the tattoos already exist of Krusty as Pennywise, so we're just riding towards the tattoos now. You want as many tattoo-worthy moments episodes as you can, which is a funny little thing there. It says, as for the regular 3-story Treehouse of Horror, one of this year's segments will be a riff on the popular anime series Death Note. And an entirely different studio is handling the animation as The Simpsons goes full anime.
Oh.
Which Selman called incredibly authentic to The Simpsons, but it will be anime. Selman said that the other segments are secret, but he does hint that one of them will break one of the rules that we've never broken before, and I'm going to say the rule, I'm going to say that this is a rule that we've never broken. I'm 100% sure we've never broken it. Last year's Treehouse of Horror parodied Parasite, The Ring, and TikTok, and Bambi. So that's strange. But yeah. So yeah, full It episode. That's going to be...
Do you know what Death Note is?
I've heard of it, I think, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Vaguely. So, yeah. Very, very interesting, intriguing story for sure.
All right.
So, yeah, I'm excited to see Krusty as Pennywise.
We should absolutely do a segment
Oh,
on that.
we've got to, yeah.
Right.
We have to.
Beat
Millhouse. Yeah, I think, is Millhouse Richie? That's the other thing to think about, is who are all the kids?
I'd put Bart as Richie.
I think Bart's, how are they going to do Georgie? I mean... I guess Treehouse of Horror kills people.
Not Maggie.
Treehouse of Horror
No,
does
leave
kill.
Maggie alone.
No, Maggie would outsmart Pennywise.
Yeah,
She's a genius,
Yeah.
but it could kill Lisa.
No.
Oh,
Nelson
man.
is Henry Bowers.
Yeah, Nelson's got to be Henry for sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who else. Yeah, I don't know who you'd fill in the roles with. I think Millhouse is going to be in there, so he'll probably be.
Sideshow Bob is Georgie.
Oh, I don't know. I think Millhouse might be Eddie.
The asthmatic.
Because he's just so nerdy and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I don't know. They may not actually have 1-to-1 for everything. I could see Bart maybe filling in for both Richie and for Bill. So yeah, I don't know. That it's gonna be fun though. That's not only unprecedented that they're gonna do a full long episode. So yeah, 20-something minutes, which it fits because it's a 1,000-page book. So it makes sense that you wouldn't want to cram it into a 8-minute vignette. So
Agamorphy says Bart is definitely Bill.
yeah, I think he has to be, but I just wonder if they'll condense it a little bit. He'll also kind of play off Richie or whatever. I just
bring back his twin that they fed.
Bort.
Bring back Bort. And
or
have him.
no, Hugo. Bort's the fake license plate.
Bring Hugo back and have him be the one that gets killed by Krusty.
Oh man!
You know what? We decided to bring Bort down into the cell, out of the
Hugo.
Attic. Hugo out of the attic and make him a part of the family. All right, I'll make him a paper boat while I'm sick. And he goes out and gets his arm ripped off.
I'm intrigued. We definitely have to talk about it after it comes out for sure. Do they put stuff straight onto Disney Plus now when it comes to new stuff? I don't know how that
if
works.
It's not a streaming one. I don't know. I've never looked at it.
I don't know how they do that with.
Here, you know what? So. While you go on, I'm going to go hop on Disney Plus and see what season of.
Well,
Simpsons
the problem is now.
there.
The problem is now though is I don't know where they're at in terms of airing. We're in the middle of the summer, so it's out of the season. So the last season might be all on there now because the season's over. But the question is like, cool, if it airs on Sunday, when does it show up on Disney Plus? That'll be interesting to look at. But yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about that because it'll be fun because that'll be one of the more overt ones we've had since The Shining. So next up, and I will let everyone know this. This doesn't get too political, but King testified for the government because they're doing a hearing on the book merger deal that is trying to go through. So King went and was a witness for it here. So this is by Hillel Itali and Marcy Gordon from the AP News on August 2nd, 2022. And it says Stephen King didn't break any legal grounds on the stand Tuesday as he testified against his own publishing efforts to merge with Penguin Random House. But he did know how to please the crowd and even get the judge to thank him for his time. Quote, "It was a great pleasure to hear your testimony," the otherwise businesslike U.S. District Judge Florence J. Pan told the author after he finished speaking as a government witness in the federal antitrust lawsuit against the merger of Penguin Random House and Simon & Schuster. King's longtime publisher. The 74-year-old King had a haunting but gregarious presence, his gaunt features accented by a gray suit and gray sneakers. So King's one of those sneakers with a suit kind of guys.
That's me. I hate dress shoes.
I was going to say, but when's the last time you've been in a suit, though?
April.
Okay. His walk was... His walk is tentative as it has been since he was struck by a van and badly injured in 1999. But once sworn in, he was relaxed and happy to talk, and ever alert to how to tell a story. Which, that's got to be a good witness to have on the stand. One of the best storytellers of our time. Yeah, that guy's not going to fumble his way through, his thoughts. So, and I loved this. His intro here, and this is a direct quote. Quote, "My name is Stephen King. I'm a freelance writer." That's how he introduces himself. I just wanted him personally. If I were like advising him, like, King, sit down, say, "I'm Stephen King. You know who the fuck I am." Yeah, that's what I would have done.
Sir, watch your language in my courtroom.
Tell him, remember your roots from the counterculture. Just throw one out there. It says King. That was what King said upon being asked to identify himself. The Justice Department is bidding to convince Pan that the proposed combination of Penguin Random House and Simon & Schuster, two of the world's largest publishers, would thwart competition and damage the careers of some of the most popular authors, a status that King holds like few others.
I just thought of it as you were saying that. What King really should have said is, "Hi, I'm Stephen King, and we all float here."
I mean, if I would have tried to get in there, and I would have just dressed as a clown. That would have been fun. King's remarkable career with so many bestsellers he could offer, King's remarkable career with so many bestsellers he could only offer an estimate has come amid wave of consolidation in the industry. As he noted in his remarks, there were dozens of publishers in New York when his breakthrough novel Carrie came out in 1974, and he has seen many of them either acquired by larger companies or forced out of business. Now the New York publishing is often the story of the so-called Big Five. So going around 12, we're down to 5. Oof. And then that's
just the 12 that were in New York.
I mean, that's where publishing is. That's the heart of publishing. So
that's where it is now, but there could have been other publishers not in New York. Again,
Not really.
smaller ones and stuff like that. But
none that move the needle. I mean, that's
No.
kind of the center of all. So to go from 12 down to 5, and then the top 2 want to merge, you could kind of see the problem that King would see here. Let's see. So the big 5: Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, HarperCollins Publishing, Hachette Book Groups, and Macmillan. The publisher of Carrie, Doubleday, is now part of Penguin Random House. So another former King publisher. So is another former King publisher, Viking Press. So again, it's just showing how all these ones that used to publish his stuff have all just been gobbled up by these giant companies. So.
Mike says in the chat, post-merger name to be the Sombra Corp.
Yeah, no kidding. King Chris,
other subsidiary, North Central Positronics.
yeah, indeed. Which again, if we still need, we've speculated over the years of the show which company might actually fit that role.
Google.
And it feels like constantly that it changes, man. You think Google, but Facebook, some of the stuff they're doing, it's like, oh my god, man. And now Samsung has a fridge that's going to be coming to you.
That's creepy as hell.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I want something. Like, hey, fridge, and then it comes creeping into the room. Like, that's not right. King.
That's like the first thing that's going to go postal when the machines rise.
Yeah,
up.
like we just watched Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah,
you know how
it's going to shoot sodas at my face and kill me.
Exactly. We saw how that worked out with that vending machine. It's one of my favorite
Those poor
scenes.
children.
Oh, I love it. Do you think King would kill those kids today, or you think that was just the cocaine?
I think it was just the cocaine.
I mean, we know King is not below killing children.
He's still horrible to characters throughout his books. So
yeah, exactly. So,
but I mean, some do end up with a happy ending in some of the books.
yeah, and some, not many. King crisply answered Schwartz's questions with some moments of humor and brief flashes of gentle outrage as he testified during the second day of the trial, expected to last 2 to 3 weeks. He says that, and this is a quote from King, "The big 5 are pretty entrenched," he said. He says, I came because I think that the consolidation is bad for competition, King said. The way the industry has evolved, he said, quote, it becomes tougher and tougher for writers to find money to live on. And then because the counter argument is basically that they're saying that even if they merge, they're still going to like bid against each other, and so it wouldn't affect writers. And King says you might as well say you're going to have a husband and a wife bidding against each other for the same house. He quipped. It'd be sort of very gentlemanly and sort of after you, he said, gesturing with polite sweeps of the arm. King was entertaining and informative, although he had little specifics to say over how the merger might harm best-selling authors, with the government's case focusing on those that receive $250,000 or more on advances. So basically, this is more aimed at like the biggest authors. You know, it's not
Like
going to
King.
Yeah, like King. Attorney Daniel Petricali represents the publishers, told King that he had no questions for him and demurred on cross-examination, saying instead that he hoped he could have coffee together sometime. So that's, I mean, who wouldn't, right?
Right.
I mean, yeah, like,
I don't drink coffee, and I'd still have a cup of coffee if it meant meeting Stephen King.
would you drink the coffee?
If,
Just like trying to
'cause
choke it
otherwise,
down.
Otherwise, Stephen King would think less of me. Absolutely, I would.
And then the last bit here.
That's one of those people that I'll do anything to impress him.
Yeah.
That's Stephen fucking King, for God's sake.
I would just do the Wayne's World. We're not worthy.
We're not worthy.
And then the last quote here: "The more publishers consolidate, the harder it is for indie publishers to survive." King tweeted, last year. So that what I was getting at was one of the reasons he probably got called in as a witness, because he tweeted that last year, basically saying that consolidation's hard on authors. So. Yeah, kind of interesting. Definitely outside of our normal wheelhouse, but it's King, and it's kind of interesting to me.
It
but
also is like book publishing too, and that's one
Yeah.
of the things that we obviously care about. Is
yeah,
I want King to keep writing books.
yeah.
I don't want him to stop and protest of something. So if King says he'd be happier with them not merging, then don't let them merge, my God.
He's like, all right, I'm gonna stop writing, and then like later on he tweets, I was just about finished that last Dark Tower book.
At that point, folks, we riot. There would be an uprising.
Oh man, that would be just our luck. You just find out he was like in the final stages of the next and last Dark Tower book he wanted to do.
I don't know why, but I just had an image in my head pop into my head because we just talked about The Simpsons, but I just pictured Crazy Cat Lady, instead of throwing cats, she's throwing bumblers. She's just, oi, oi,
Now,
oi.
she could be that lady for adult Bev.
Oh, your father.
Yeah, she could. I don't think that they're actually going to get into all of it. I'm
No.
thinking it's probably just going to be the kid stuff. But yeah, Crazy Cat Lady would fit perfectly with that.
Yeah,
that
they should have Bart be and that group be the kids, and then have an adult group with Homer and Marge and Milhouse's dad and Barney and a couple others.
Yeah.
Mo, what's Mo gonna do?
Oh, I don't know. He'd probably be just a victim.
He'd just be like, "Hey, you kid," and then just get killed.
Yeah. Indeed.
Aw.
Indeed. All right. So the next up, this is kind of out of left field and definitely unexpected. Got a new King adaptation.
Oh, we do?
The Regulators, film based on Stephen King's novel, is in the works at Bohemia Group. George Cowan tapped to pen the script. This is by Matt Grober from Deadline on August 10th, 2022. So up to this point, this is a unfilmed novel. Have you read this one? I feel like you read one of the two, right?
I read one of the two, and honestly, I don't remember even what it's about.
Regulators and Desperation are the
Yes.
two that are like slightly connected, right?
I think I read Desperation.
Okay. So it says exclusive. Bohemia Group has optioned the film rights to Stephen King's bestseller, The Regulators, tapping George Cowan to adapt the Western horror thriller for the big screen. First published by Dutton in 1996, Regulators is a story of a peaceful suburban life on Popular Street in Wentworth, Ohio. So another Ohio story, along with Mr. Mercedes, that is shattered one fine day when 4 vans containing shotgun-wielding regulators terrorize the street's residents, cold-bloodedly killing anyone foolish enough to venture outdoors. Houses mysteriously transform into log cabins, and the street now ends in what looks like a child's hand-drawn western landscape. Masterminding this sudden onslaught is an evil creature who has taken over the body of an autistic boy whose parents were killed in a drive-by shooting several months earlier.
Nope, this is not the one. I just looked it up. Yeah, it's Desperation that I read because it's set in Nevada.
Okay.
Which I always thought was just fascinating. Probably one of the reasons why I picked it out. It's just like, wait, Stephen King writes novels about outside of Maine?
Yeah. What? Colorado.
Again.
You got Colorado and you got Nevada, so we just got to get in the middle there and get a King novel set in Utah.
We're a large part of the stand.
I don't know about large part.
The walk.
They
from
walk through.
Colorado.
Yeah, they walk through Utah for a bit, but
it's the cleanse and everything like that for them. And also, you get Trash Can Man in Utah, and you also get Nadine in Utah. So,
and
Flag's wedding.
Campion goes through Utah.
Yeah, he goes through Salt Lake City.
We've been 6 in Salt Lake City, so we're screwed.
Yeah.
In that case, it says the film adaptation of The Regulators is being shepherded by Bohemia Group's executive vice president, producer Justin Ross, who helped develop the King-approved script with Cowan. So King-approved script, that's interesting as well.
Excellent.
And it's a quote. This is a quote here. "I'm delighted that the excitement of The Regulators is coming to the screen." King told Deadline, "This is going to be good." So. Some words from Cy King there. It says, "We could not be more thrilled to be working with the prolific Stephen King and his team on this project," says Bohemia Group CEO Susan Ferris. "The novel's themes and characters resonate so powerfully, and we are looking forward to making an incredible film. Working with Stephen King is a long time wish fulfilled," added Ross. "Susan and George and I look forward to doing the novel and its author proud." So, yeah, that's awesome. The Regulators was also I grabbed a note on this. The Regulators was written in the 90s as a Richard Bachman novel, but it was published posthumously after Bachman had passed away. Because basically this would have been a Bachman novel, but then all the stuff happened, which we covered a few episodes back. So so that's very interesting. The other thing I found funny is I looked up the screenwriter George Cowan, because I'm like, let's see what else this guy's done. Literally found nothing.
Really?
Like nothing. No IMDb and stuff. In fact, the only thing that actually came up was apparently there was someone on the Manhattan Project with that name. And I also found one less legitimate, not saying less, I guess, a little bit more Bush League that was writing about this story, and they actually said like, this screenwriter, we don't know anything about him, but he worked on the Manhattan Project. I'm like, you'll know that guy. Like, there's nobody that worked on the Manhattan Project that's still alive. Because think about how old do you have to be a scientist? Probably at least in your 30s.
Well, they probably all had masters, doctorates.
Exactly. So most of them were in their 40s or so. There's not many young people. So now fast forward how many years it's been since the early 40s. And then this actual guy, George Cowan, he died in 2012. So he's been dead for a decade. But I just found one, and I just don't even know why I clicked on it, but I was reading through, because I think I was trying to find, does anyone have anything on this guy? He's had to have done something. This can't be the first time. And they're like, oh yeah, he worked with the Manhattan Project and he got this award. And I'm like, oh come on, guys,
Do your research before writing something.
Because I was just like, yeah. Because even just as a history fan, I'm like in my head, I'm like, there's no one that'd be alive. Like, and then I looked the guy up just to be sure, and I'm like, yep, dead in 2012. He's been dead a decade. So
Agamorphy says, I hope that they really do make that child style of the design really mess with audiences' minds.
yeah.
Talking about the big bad is in an autistic child. So
Well, no, and then do you catch that the houses transform into log cabins?
Yeah.
And then the end of the street starts to look like a child drawn like landscape.
Oh, I missed that part.
Yeah, so
okay.
very trippy-ish it sounds like.
Ugh.
So yeah, I agree with you, Agamorphy. I think that would be they shouldn't lean away from that. They need to get towards
Embrace
that
it,
and
yeah.
embrace some of the weirdness of it. So
That's when movies are good. It's when they embrace that stuff.
yeah, exactly. And with all the stuff that's been coming out in the last number of years, like people are loving that stuff.
Yeah.
When people go nuts a little bit. So like there was that Lovecraftian Nicolas Cage movie that was just pretty out there.
Where he's like himself and
No,
Oh.
no, like Lovecraftian, like monsters, cosmic horror type stuff. So yeah, I'm blanking on the name, but I can never remember
don't
the name
know
of it.
that.
But yeah, there's just been all kinds of stuff like that. It's like that's out there, and it's like yeah, just embrace that shit, man. Lean
Yeah.
into it, go nuts. Like don't fucking. This isn't the '90s anymore. You don't have to like take the weirdness down, notches to like make it like whatever. Like no, go
gotta
fucking
make
nuts.
Gotta make it the right way in Hollywood, and no, you don't. Like,
So
do whatever you can.
So there's our new board. Pulled it up on the screen there, and we've got added the regulators there as a film. So again, kind of out there. There's been some the last little bit that we are announced where we're like, wait, really?
Yeah.
And this kind of falls into that because like there's never even like this came out in like '96, like that was still kind of in that era where a lot of King stuff was being adapted for television stuff. I'm kind of surprised this hasn't been made. So the fact that it hasn't, I just kind of assumed it was probably unadaptable or not interesting to film and television folks. But here we go. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that goes.
That's a lot. Look at all that.
On the board.
That's just a lot. I mean, okay, so let's talk about this for a second. So that
Some of these are developmental hell.
well,
certainly.
we're also auditory podcast listeners.
Oh yeah, for the people on the podcast.
For the people
yeah.
listening on the podcast, the film has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 3. So we're looking at one short of that, so 17 films.
Yeah.
And then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 TV series.
Yeah.
Like,
that
in production, announcements, something
Yeah.
has been talked about with them having an adaptation for it. So it's just interesting to see so many on here when it feels like they don't adapt King that much.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Some of these certainly are in developmental hell. May never see, but the ones that I'd say, Mr. Harrigan's Phone is coming out in the fall. The Boogeyman is coming along. We've heard a lot about that. Haven't heard a lot about the Running Man with Edgar Wright. We have had a little bit of an update on the Talisman, which is on the TV side, just recently with the publicity for the latest Stranger Things episode. But some of these others though, like the Institute, haven't heard word one since that initial announcement. Ever since that announcement of the Pet Cemetery that we had Judd Crandall cast as younger guy, we haven't heard anything there. The Dark Half is on there.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Because that was adapted by George Romero back in the day.
Yeah.
So I don't remember. I mean, it's on here, so we talked about it at some point. I don't know. I'll have to go back now that I've actually read that.
Mr. Harrigan's Phone, From a Buick 8, Rat, Long Walk. I mean, Christine again. There's so much on here. It just feels like, I don't know, maybe it's just me.
The Jaunt.
I just don't feel like there's a ton of stuff coming out.
It doesn't
adaptation.
It doesn't feel like it. Yeah, there's a lot of developmental hell going on for sure.
Jack says he's going through the Talisman for his first time right now, and he's really enjoying it so far.
Awesome! Yeah, I really dug that one. Carol says, since one of the main characters follows through from Desperation, the better book, to the Regulators, it would be good to include some from both books. They've never done anything else. Is cause for concern. Yeah, this is kind of a newer group. Even this group that signed on, like I said, there's nothing about this writer, but even the group, I looked them up. They're fairly new. They've been around for less than 10 years. But yeah, we'll see how it pans out. I mean, there's not a lot of details ultimately, so we'll see. Definitely interested though. because definitely I haven't read either of the two books. So
I read Desperation, but that's one of those ones that we literally just talked about this with the Dark Half last night in our hangout. It's one of those ones I read
yeah.
15 years ago, something like that, and I haven't read it again.
Since this one was a Bachman one, they're not necessarily meant to be like, what was the two Clint Eastwood movies, Flags of Iwo Jima and Flags of Our Father and Letters from Iwo Jima.
Letters from Iwo Jima,
where he basically did the Battle of Iwo Jima from the Japanese perspective and the Americans' perspective, and like the movies don't really cross over like overtly, but like it's basically telling you the two sides of the battle type thing. Like you don't see like, oh, there's the actor from the other movie, nothing like that. And I think that's kind of the way this was, but ultimately like, because again, since it was going to be a Bachman novel, he obviously wasn't going to be like, oh, here's this, like
Castle Rock.
overtly, here's this one guy that's in both. Like, there's probably to be name changes, or I don't know, or unless he wrote it knowing that the Bachman thing was done for potentially. I don't know. So, we got that. So, next up, I think, no, I don't think I got a slide.
No.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I guess I didn't do a slide for it. So this is just a quick one. 5 horror movies recommended by Stephen King that you could watch on Netflix right now.
Okay.
So and this is like not necessarily like something that whatever. This is like ones that he's somewhat compiled some of these from like previous tweets, previous interviews, even some of them from like Dan's Macabre. This is by Josh Corngut from Dread Central on August 11th, 2022. And the first one, It Chapter 1, and I was like, oh, so he's just going to talk about his own stuff, but it's not. There's some other non-King stuff.
Okay.
But this is a quote from King on It Chapter 1. It says, I had hopes, but it was not prepared for how good it really was. It's something that's different, and at the same time, it's something that audiences are going to relate to. They're going to like the characters. To me, that's all about characters. If you like the characters, if you care, then the scares genuinely work. I'm sure my fans will enjoy the movie. I think that they're going to really enjoy the movie, and I think some of them will go back 2 or 3 times to actually savor the thing. I went back and saw it the second time. And I felt like it was seeing things the second time through that I missed the first time. So kind of cool to see King's, initial reactions to It Chapter 1. The next one was The Mist. And he says, this is a quote here, Frank Darabont's vision of hell, this is a quote. Frank Darabont's vision of hell is completely uncompromising. If you want sweet, the Hollywood establishment will be pleased to serve you at the Cineplex. Believe me, but if you want something that's real, come here. Darabont could have made a bigger, higher budget movie if he had changed his ending to a more cheerful one. More of a It's Okay Kitties ending, but he refused. His integrity and courage shines through every scene. Mm-hmm. So kind of cool again to see King's words on that. And the next one was actually, this is the first one that is not his own, is Bird Box.
Oh, this is Sandra Bullock,
yeah, for that Netflix one. He says, I was absolutely riveted by Bird Box, and he says on Netflix, don't believe the lukewarm reviews, which may be in part because viewers are ambivalent towards the streaming platform as opposed to theatrical releases, because that was a whole thing. I mean, it still kind of is, but that was a big thing where people were like, oh, I don't want to watch it, it's just on Netflix. This one actually surprised me. Halloween 2007.
The Rob Zombie one?
Yeah. He says this is actually just a synopsis of it. It says, in a recent updated edition of Dan's Macabre, Stephen King notes that Rob Zombie's drastically different version of events was both inspired and, quote, excellent reimagining of Halloween. Everyone's entitled to one good scare and their opinion. Say what you will about this remake. It certainly carves out its own unique path. So, yeah, kind of. I will say that was a Halloween fan. I don't hate this one either. It's different.
It's really
certainly
the second one that.
Oh yeah,
the
second one's horrible. It's the only Halloween movie I don't like one way or the other. Like, I'll defend every single Halloween movie at least to a point, except for that one. That's the only one I can't.
Even Resurrection?
Oh yeah. God,
we're gonna have to talk about this on our other show.
Yeah, I'm a Halloween super fan.
You are.
And I will say I haven't watched that sequel since 2009 when it came out in theaters.
The Halloween 2?
2, Rob Zombies,
wow.
Yeah. So maybe I need to revisit it at some point. And then the last one is one I vehemently disagree with, but okay, King has his opinion certainly, is Crimson Peak. This is a Guillermo del Toro movie. I freaking hated it, man. Yeah. I saw it in Vegas, and I was just, I didn't. I almost walked out. But then again, I'm not a big Guillermo del Toro fan. Like, I appreciate him, and I understand that, like, he's very talented, but I just don't think his stuff's for me necessarily.
Okay.
Feels like almost everything I watch of his that just doesn't jive with me. But this is what King says. He says, was treated to a screening of Guillermo del Toro's new movie Crimson Peak this weekend. Gorgeous and just fucking terrifying. So again, King's opinion. But yeah, I was surprised to see. I'm like, wait, that really? I hated that movie. But yeah, so that's cool. I'm sorry I don't have a slide. I don't know how the fuck I missed that. So
Tisk, 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 sir.
yeah.
They're in the chat. They're talking about how after you start reading the Talisman, you start picking up the lingo, just like Dark Tower, right here and now, and God pound them. And then Jack says, how does King do it? I'm so the same after Wolves of the Call. Yeah, absolutely. After Wolves of the Call, it's a.
I've told the story before when I told a pizza person thank you, Sai.
Yeah.
And then like just kind of awkwardly looked at him as he's like, obviously he was like deer in the
what?
headlights. What the fuck is he to say? And I'm just like, close the door.
Moving on.
Oh man, not as awkward as Scott's tots by any means, but it was.
Stop it.
But it was awkward. Oh man. So is that everything I missed in the chat here? Is just going through the talisman stuff? Okay, cool. The next one here, this is interesting. So Mr. Harrigan's Phone, Stephen King says, Netflix adaptation turned out brilliant.
Oh.
So this is by John Squires from Bloody Disgusting on August 12th, 2022. In the fall.
Oh.
On Netflix. It's not a theatrical.
Yeah.
So I think that's why we've kind of overlooked it a tiny bit, because we were so fixated on Salem's Lot, because that was coming sooner and that was going to be theatrical. I'm not one that like begrudges streaming stuff at all. I prefer theaters, but I'm not going to like look down on something because it's only streaming. But I'm looking forward to seeing this. But this it says an adaptation of one of the stories featured in King's recent 4-novella collection of If It Bleeds that came out in 2020 features the feature film Mr. Harrigan's Phone is heading to Netflix this fall, and Stephen King himself has provided an exciting tease over Twitter this morning. And this is the tweet. I actually have it for the screen here as well. It says, I have seen the close to finished cut of Mr. Harrigan's Phone, written and directed by John Lee Hancock, and it's nothing short of brilliant. Donald Sutherland, Jaden Martell, Netflix this fall. So
Nice.
That kind of upped my excitement level. Like I'm already been kind of excited for it. I really enjoyed the story I enjoyed all of them from If It Bleeds for the most part.
Except for
Rat was just misplaced.
You need to go back and reread it, sir.
I do,
by itself,
on its own,
in a bubble, in an isolation.
Kind of like I want to do for Song of Susanna. I want to do the same thing, just whatever. But yes, I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed this one a lot, so I'm really looking forward to it. But I will say this is like 0, like excitement level of 3 to like 9.
Yeah.
With this from King. So, and I know King's not necessarily impartial. He's hyped some stuff before that didn't turn out all that well. So,
Mike literally just said in the chat, no. Stephen King will give his approval to anything on his on screen that he gets a cut from. So,
yeah, I mean, kinda. I don't know. This seems a little bit different. I feel like you got to try to parse it a little bit, because some of it's just like he's doing his work basically. It's his job, right? Like they're adapting his work. It's his job to try to be supporting or whatever. But like there's a difference between like some of the kind of whatever stuff like Firestarter. He said some stuff about Firestarter, but it wasn't super glowing, right?
No.
This feels different. This feels closer to like what we just read from the chapter 1 review that he gave. So this just feels, I don't know, we'll see ultimately, but it's definitely exciting because the way he words that there. Because sometimes there's because there was one too, I think it was The Stand that he kind of talked some stuff about, where it was just like he said some things where he's just like, I don't know how audiences will react to certain elements and stuff. Like I remember that. I was like, why is he saying that? Yeah, it's like, wait, really? He's not just like whatever, especially because he wrote one of the episodes, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But I think he knew, like, he wrote the original series. So that, Mick Garris executed on it. So, like, that is what King would visualize for it. And I honestly think he probably, some of the problems we've had with it, he probably saw where it's like, oh, you're going to skip the whole outbreak? Ooh, that's a choice,
Yeah.
But he's not going to, like, full on say that. But there was some stuff he said that just felt like, all right, he's not saying, like, it's going to be brilliant, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll have to revisit this after we've watched it and see if we can remember
it'd be
this.
interesting to go back and grab a couple others of King recently, especially, and see how it turns out versus what he says.
Let's see. That's good. And then Carol says Netflix is killing it. I wish they weren't publicly traded because of profits give them stress. Yeah, and there is always that, certainly. But yeah, they're definitely doing good for the most part, I think. So it says the upcoming movie from the American Horror Stories creator Ryan Murphy and Blumhouse with John Lee Hancock that did The Blind Side, writing and directing the adaptation. Donald Sutherland and Jaden Martell from It will star. Sutherland will star in the titular role of Mr. Harrigan. We've learned with Martell in the role of Craig, and we've learned more recently that Kirby Howell Baptiste, which she was in Barry, Killing Eve, has joined the cast. Hal Baptiste will play Craig's caring and concerning teacher, Mrs. Hart, or Ms. Hart. And then it says Mr. Harrigan's phone is rated PG-13, which is also news. We haven't really heard any ratings on it, which is interesting. I didn't know that Netflix got shit rated, because that actually costs, and you need it for the MPAA to put it in a theater. But if you're just Netflix, you don't need to get shit rated. So it's interesting that they got it rated. I mean, they have their little advisory thing at the top where it's like, this has got violence and gore and drug use or whatever. But and then the reasons for the PG-13 ratings are, quote, thematic material, some strong language, violent content, and brief drug material. So yeah, so that's exciting. Kind of looking forward to what we're going to be seeing there. So the next one here is really intriguing. So one Stephen King adaptation has been in development for a decade, but the filmmakers have not given up hope. And this is from Eric Eisenberg from Cinema Blend on August 13th, 2022. My first thought when I read this, because I didn't see that it said a decade, I just read decades. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be The Talisman. So I'm like, I click on it, see what the story's about. And when it wasn't about The Talisman, I'm like, oh, surprised, Thought it would just be a recap of kind of what we just talked about not too long ago on Spielberg buying the rights and all that stuff. But no, since it's just a decade, so this has been in development since 2012. So, oh yeah, Mike, thanks. I'm still learning the YouTube side. I meant to say it earlier. Yeah, and everyone, if you could like the video, that does help too. I think both of us need to learn on the old YouTube thing. But yes, hit the likes. Those are good. Peter can do it too, because he's not the host like I am.
Already did it.
Okay, so this is so as he starts off here, he gives away which one we're talking about. The Breathing Method is a novella that exists in an odd place in the legacy of author Stephen King and the history of Stephen King adaptations. The story is one of the 4 included in the beloved 1982 collection of different seasons. So this is the other one, because you've got Apt Pupil, you've got The Body, and you've got Rita Hayworth in The Shawshank Redemption. And then there's the other one, Breathing Method.
Okay.
And so it just doesn't fit really in a lot of ways. Like, there's kind of a certain feel and vibe to the other 3 that just feel like they're very related. This one doesn't. This is a little bit more traditional horror. I just did this one last year, I think, because I think it was in the summer. Because I remember I drove to Wendover and I was listening to The Breathing Method driving to Wendover. And I think the last time I did that was in the summer. Last year. So it's been a little bit, but it was still fresh. Because I remember as I was reading, I'm like, why has this not been made? Like, this doesn't at all fit these other novels, like different seasons or whatever. It just doesn't fit in. But if this was with any other short story collection, like,
if it bleeds,
why has this not been adapted, man? But yeah, it says, and while the other 3 novels in the omnibus have inspired adaptations, namely Frank Darabont's The Shawshank Redemption, Rob Reiner's Stand By Me, and Bryan Singer's Apt Pupil. It's a work of fiction that previously only exists on the page. Back in 2012, director Scott Derrickson of Black Phone and Sinister fame and screenwriter Scott Teems began an effort to change that history, developing a movie based on the novella with Blumhouse Productions. So that's quite a 1-2-3 punch there. And while it's been about a decade since the project was first announced, the filmmakers are not giving up on the idea, and it could exist someday in some form. With his new movie and the critically acclaimed Black Phone, based on the short story by Stephen King's son Joe Hill, set to arrive on Blu-ray next week, Scott Derrickson was a guest on Cinema Blend's Real Blend podcast. And The Breathing Method was a project that came up in conversation. The filmmaker was asked about the idea of making King adaptation at some point in the future, and he says, quote, "There's a story of his that I was involved with, an adaptation that was actually pretty good script adaptation that Scott Teems wrote, who's the writer of, I think, the last 2 Halloween movies." So that's a clue in there for Scott. So Scott Teems did the last 2 Halloween movies. So he's done some. So you got a good screenwriter. You got Scott Derrickson as the director. Like, that's a pretty stout. And then Blumhouse being involved. I mean, in terms of horror, not many people are doing stuff as good as Blumhouse. So
can we kick people out of the chat?
No, absolutely not.
It's not nice, Mike.
I guess I will say too, I've been teasing Peter for like a week or so now.
Oh yeah, just before you dive into that, Mike said in the chat for everyone not here live, look out, Peter, beast behind you. Did that wake you up? He saw the glaze come over my eyes there for a second, and knows that I had a rough night last night. Thanks, Mike. I should get
a beast noise on the soundboard here. That would be interesting.
Jack says, "Don't worry, Peter. It's about why all of you are like
waiting
this?
outside."
Go ahead, Ted. Tell him.
Yeah. So I just told him there may be something in this episode that might upset him. And he's been stressing quite a bit about it, actually. In fact, so much so to be threatening me about walking out.
If you have a fucking symbol monkey, I'm leaving. I am not kidding. I'll turn off my laptop, I'll leave it here, and I'm walking out. I do not want to be in the room with the symbol monkey. Not after last night, especially. I can't take it, man.
Oh, okay, so... back to the quote here. So Scott Teems wrote the last two Halloween movies. Scott's a good friend of mine, and I brought him the short story for The Breathing Method, which is the fourth story in the different seasons, which includes The Shawshank, The Body, which became Stand By Me, and Apt Pupil. So The Breathing Method is the only short story of the book that has not been adapted yet. It's a great story, and I think it'll make a great horror film. And I think that's the main thing is that the other ones aren't really horror.
Yeah.
Shawshank, The Body, and
Apt
Pupil. They're all good. They're all great fucking stories, but not really horror. This one felt like horror. In fact, I've actually heard people speculate that there was a potential that publishers forced King to put something a little bit more kingy in it.
Yeah, not just other stories.
Because different seasons, I'm trying to remember where different seasons came out. I mean, I guess it would have been at least let's see. Of course, I'm not finding it. There it is, 1982. So you're still talking early King. I mean, he still hasn't. I mean,
just horror.
Yeah,
that's all he's done,
up to this point. Let's see, has he done anything? I mean, the Bachman stuff's not been unveiled yet. So Running Man, Roadwork, and Long Walk, those don't count. Outside of that, you got Carrie, Salem's Lot, The Shining, Rage, Night Shift, The Stand, The Dead Zone, Firestarter, Cujo, and The Gunslinger. And The Gunslinger, yeah, like that's a little bit different, but still, ultimately, like, yeah, he's a horror guy. Like he hasn't had that chance yet to really spread his wings. So there's been a lot of talk that there was potentially the publisher's like, we'll do whatever you want, but you've got to at least put one horror story in there. So, but it is a horror story. So yeah, but I loved it. The Breathing Method is and this is back to the article. The Breathing Method is a strange story that has two different narrative levels. The narrator of the story is a lawyer who's invited to join a tremendously exclusive New York men's club. The group meet in a gorgeous space with books and games, but the gentleman's true passion is storytelling. The title of the novella comes from a tale that the narrator hears told by an elderly physician named Dr. Emmeline McCarran, who discusses his experience with a pregnant woman named Sandra Stansfield from when he was practicing medicine in the 1930s. To help her with her labor, Dr. McCarran has her practice a technique called the breathing method. I won't go too far into details. I will say the story has a macabre and creepy conclusion. And yes, very much so. Earlier this year, I had a chance to interview screenwriter Scott Teems, and he went out in more detail about the long road that the Breathing Method movie has taken through developmental hell. He says, I'm trying to get it back in the works. This is a quote straight from Teems. It's a project I've had that's had many lives, and yeah, we'll see. I optioned the story myself originally about 10 years ago, and that's actually the project through which I met Jason Blum of Blumhouse, and that began our relationship, which we've now had for a decade working together. I wrote it as a movie, and Scott Derrickson was going to direct it, and we brought Blum in on to produce it. Then we sold it to Harvey Weinstein in 2013. And then of course they got caught up with all the Weinstein fallout a few years later, which, to be fair, that all happened in like 2017. So that was like 4 years still. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't a whole lot of movement on it anyway. Yeah. So I don't know if you could really blame the Weinstein stuff on it. Like it like, cool, he sold it to Weinstein 4 years later, then that shit happens. Yeah, that's certainly, like, it was a good thing, but like, let's not pretend that has anything to do with this not being made. And then there's admittedly, this is back to the article, there admittedly isn't as high a number of projects that haven't been managed, that have managed to survive the decades in developmental hell with an original filmmaker still attached, but Scott's Teems is determined to have the Breathing Method be one of them. And this is his last quote here. He says it's had different lives. It was a TV show at one point. It was a movie again. Who knows what it's going to be now. I'm trying to pull it out from under the rubble of all that. I have hopes for it. It's one of my favorite stories of all of King's stories, and I love the adaptation. and I'm excited about it. So here's hoping. And then it says, then the last thing the article says, the sibling story to The Breathing Method in different seasons inspired two of Stephen King's best movies ever, The Shawshank Redemption and Stand By Me. And if this adaptation has even half the quality of either of those, let's hope it gets financed tomorrow. Which,
Yeah.
here. But
And I haven't read it. So
yeah, I was gonna say, you need to read different seasons.
I do.
That's a really good read, man. Like top to bottom, like reading Shawshank, Apt Pupil's a killer story. A little bit more apt now than it
Body.
would have been, and then The Body is it's a great one. So yeah, I'm dealing with Mr. Ace Merrill now in Needful Things. Speaking of The Body. So yeah,
You missed a bit in the chat. Mike says he hopes that the surprise is Hayden in a gorilla suit with real symbols. Carol says, so I'm going to just say this, what I'm thinking. Seeing a pic of King going to court reminds me of how old he really is, and I'm not ready. Now I can rebury that thought.
Yeah, indeed. And that's what I think about, honestly, and I think we discussed it. I think it was on the Hangout yesterday. We were talking about where it's like, I don't think King's going to ever stop writing. I think he's going to die, and that's going to be the end of his career, because I think just writing is too much part of who he is. So I don't think that we have to necessarily worry about him retiring. But yes, he is 75, I think, this year. So it's like he is at that spot now that, it's... everything we get at this point is an absolute blessing. The fact he is still working, because we know he is Stephen King, is a writing machine, but ultimately there is an element, like, if he was a normal person, he may even just would have retired by now. I mean, he may have died in 1999, for God's sake, and we would have lost
everything after that.
How many things?
Dude, we wouldn't have an end of the Dark Tower.
Wouldn't have an end of the Dark Tower series. The last thing we would have had would have been book 4. Let's see. We don't know about like Hearts in Atlantis. We were one of our episodes we did on that for the Hangouts. We weren't able to fully figure out. No, I think we did. That there was somewhere I found that said that like a chunk of Hearts in Atlantis was finished when he got hit, but it wasn't all finished. We probably never would have had Hearts in Atlantis, which is a shame, because that was a killer book.
11/22/63, the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, the
Black
Outsider.
House.
We would have never met Holly Gibney.
No Holly Gibney. Black House. No,
we would have never got Dr. Sleep.
Everything's Eventual, which is a great one we just did. All the Dark Tower books. Leezy's story, which is really good. You mentioned 11/22 Under the Dome. I mean, let's not let that horrible TV series affect the fact that was
I need to go back and reread that, because that TV series really put a bad taste in my mouth, and I haven't read it since then. By the way,
Revival. Everyone loves Revival. You've read it. I have not yet.
It's good. By the way, Hayden's in the chat, just saying hi.
Oh, awesome. Hello.
What they're referencing, Hayden, is that Tad has some kind of a surprise for me that I'm going to be terrified of. That's what they were saying.
Might be coming up very soon.
They're hoping that it was you in a monkey suit.
It might be coming up fairly soon, as a matter of fact. You mentioned Holly Gibney, which would probably be one of the biggest travesties. The Outsider was a great book. Also, what about the last two? Billy Summers and Later?
Yeah.
Like, my God, man. Like,
I mean, The Institute was fantastic.
The Institute. I mean, there's
Sleeping Beauties. We would have never seen him co-write something with his son.
Yeah, exactly. One shudders to think. But let's move on over to the odds and ends. Anything else I missed in the chat here?
Jack says, in true King style, I feel like he'll have a few books ready to be published years after he passes.
It'll be like Tupac. They're still releasing shit like 20 years after he dies.
Yeah.
And that's probably true. I mean, we've heard King actually reference like drawer books, stuff that he just threw in a drawer and just like whatever. So legit, Joe Hill or someone a decade later, we might still be getting some King works released.
We can hope.
Let's just hope. Dark Tower, something, right? Or Joe just takes
Jericho Hill.
Joe picks up the what do you call it, the baton, and just carries on the
mantle.
The mantle. Yeah, he can go on with it.
Carol tells me to be afraid, be very afraid. I am.
Oh man. What's going on? What's Mike saying here? I'd love to hear a third hand telling what's the movie. We're talking
going to the movies
Beast?
with us to see Beast.
Oh yeah. All right, so the first one we've got here is R.L. Stine.
Okay.
Pretty big for a lot of us. R.L. Stine, there's a couple quotes that he had on Mr. Cy King. And I don't even remember where this came from, but it came across my news desk, because it mentions King. The first quote, I can't tell you how many Agatha Christie plots I've stolen. I think Stephen King's scariest book is Pet Sematary, and I've stole that premise 4 or 5 times. Laughs. So Then the next quote. Oh yeah, I told him. I met him once and we had a nice talk. He accused me of taking every amusement park plot and not saving them for anyone else. And then he laughs again. But King got one, right? Wasn't Joyland? Yeah. So he's at least done one.
Yeah.
And let's just pray that we get a real Stephen King theme park. That would be great because there you could really ride Blaine the Mono.
I didn't prompt it. I didn't have nothing to do with it. Carol put a hashtag Tad is terrible in the chat. So
what? Oh, maybe because of what Hayden said.
Oh,
grossing him out.
Oh,
and stuff.
yeah. Oh, okay. I see.
No, it's fun. Like honestly, the whole industry of reaction videos is built for what I've done to you and Hayden over the years.
That's true.
Like if I could have recorded, we'd have like 100,000 subscribers
Probably.
just watching you two react and stuff because that's what people love. I actually found a new guy that I kind of like reaction wise, and at first I think he did one horror movie, and dude, he just absolutely like reacts like he's not into like gore and stuff, and because of that, every vote for a while was everything horror until he finally stopped putting him on his poll. He's like, I'm not doing horror anymore. He's like, you guys are all twisted bastards, because everyone loves that shit. So it's all fun. As Alfred Hitchcock says, there's a reason the first thing we all say to a baby is boo.
Yeah.
So then the last quote from R.L. Stine is he says, I remember that I also said to him, Stephen, a magazine once called me the literary training bra for you, which is true. And he said, yes, I know. And he says, I'm Stephen King for kids, which apt. Yeah. I mean, that's why I read him, like I've told the story before. My mom was reading Stephen King. I knew that, and I wanted to read Stephen King myself, but I knew like there's a level to getting there. And for me, it was there's that jump when you're a certain age when it's moving from little storybooks and stuff to the first book you read that has chapters. That's how I always said it. Was like, I need to read a chapter book. And R.L. Stine and the Goosebumps was what allowed me to cross that barrier for the first time and train up for reading The Shining. Although that was a disappointment for young little Tad. It just
a lot of it didn't click.
Right over my head. all the adult shit and stuff, but
Hayden just said, Tad is the only person who has made me vomit solely from talking and describing something awful.
Twice I've done that.
He has done that twice. And then Mike says, LOL, please go on. Hashtag Tad really is terrible. We have not been lying about this. You guys don't understand.
Yes.
This is a way of life.
No, it's slander.
It is.
It's all slander. So next up.
Yeah, we'll see what happens by the end of the episode. You'll see that evil laugh? Yeah. Yeah, I'm on to you.
Oh, okay. So the next one is actually pretty cool. I'll have the link in the show notes and stuff for this. But Stephen King is read a chapter of Fairy Tale, and you can access that on YouTube. So
cool.
Got a screen grab of it here, just sitting on his couch. I had to cycle through the video to find a spot where you can kind of see the cover a little bit, and it's funny. He has AirPods in, which just kind of freaks me out because it's like Stephen King in my mind is like stuck in like the 80s. So like whenever I see
like a gramophone.
Yeah, exactly. I picture him still writing on like a typewriter, right? Like he's frozen in time. So to see him wearing AirPods just kind of weirds me out a little bit. So like even like his Twitter, I picture him writing it on a typewriter, and then like he has like some intern that then tweets it or something. I just don't picture King with an iPhone tweeting. So
yeah. Mike says, sorry, Carol, I'm Team Tad. And then Mike also says that book isn't big enough. He wants it thicker. He wants more.
I mean, it looks kind of thick, right? Oh, does Audible tell you the hour count on it? Because that's kind of how I almost judge books nowadays. Because the problem,
I don't know if it does on pre-order.
The problem with print is text size, paper thickness. There's all these things all these variables that come in. Because I mean, dude, think about how small the Stand paperback edition is. Yeah. Or no, like the Stand thickness there on paperback's thick actually, but when you get one of the ones that's a little bit bigger, suddenly it like loses like a third of its thickness. So books,
that's the Dark Tower books.
Yeah,
in that collection that you have, you had your Gunslinger sitting here yesterday.
Yeah, it's over there.
It's over there, but it's like thin.
Yeah,
it's like this, folks, like thin. But when you look at the paperback, it's thicker because it's condensed a little bit.
Yeah. So there's that. Let's see. Audible book is 10 hours and some minutes is what Chris just joined us as well. Welcome, Chris. Or has he been here? No, I don't think he has.
Fairy Tale narrated by Seth Numrick and Stephen King, it says it is exactly 24 hours.
Oh, really?
24 hours and 0 minutes is what it says on Audible.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah. So that is it's coming up soon. So yeah, if you do want a I don't want to say it's a spoiler, but if you want a peek or a taste of Fairy Tale,
I'm not doing it.
You can go to YouTube and have Mr. King read it. And when that says Stephen King, I guarantee he's not narrating it. That's probably just like an intro.
Intro.
Yeah. Because
or an afterthought, kind of thing.
Or an afterword. Yeah, definitely. So, and now we come to it.
This is it.
This was sent to us. I'm going to credit, because it's not me. This is not me. I'm going to credit David on Twitter for sending this over. And I'm going to credit Spirit Halloween, because they are glorious, glorious bastards. They have...
Oh, my God.
And the second picture shows you it is 6 feet tall.
It's as big as me?
It's a 6 foot tall symbol monkey.
Oh, my God. Is that in this house? I'm fucking leaving if that's like in the next room or something.
Let's take a look here at the...
What the fuck is that? No!
Spirit Halloween. It is 6 foot tall symbol monkey. Oh, it will be mine.
No.
It will be mine. Yes. So earlier when they talked about Hayden being in a monkey suit with symbols, wasn't far off.
Oh.
Yes. So thank you, David. And this is what I've been teasing you about. A 6 foot symbol
monkey. If you
monkey.
have that here, I'm not coming over. We're going to have to figure out me recording from home.
It only cost me $300.
Oh, my. Wait. It cost you? You ordered it? Where is it?
With it being 6 feet, I wonder what the box would look like. Would it be a wooden crate, perhaps?
I hate you so much.
And the thing we've talked about is your wife is definitely welcome and helping, or she's open to helping me on certain things. So, yeah, definitely pretty cool. Let's go on back to the old first slide there to show again. 6 foot tall symbol monkey by Spirit Halloween.
So demonic.
And it hit. This is brand new this year. So as you go to Spirit Halloweens this year, you may actually see this thing. I mean, you will see it at some point, whether you see it there or not. But yes.
My wife just chimed in the chat. She says, "That's terrifying. Looks like we'll have to get you set up for remote recording, babe." Damn right. If you're there, you have that in your house. I'm recording from home from now on. No, stop! Turn it off.
Oh man, I've been waiting because this actually
I'm closing you. I'm going home.
This came in on Twitter from David like 3 weeks ago. So I've been waiting on this.
Oh.
So Spirit Halloween, thank you so much.
I'm protesting
because
Spirit Halloween from now on.
It does take a long time for something to come from Japan. That's all I'm saying. It takes a long freaking time. Okay.
Mike says he pledges $50 to ship one to Peter's house. You don't even have to do that. Tad knows where I live.
Oh yeah, right as you leave your door, just right outside your door there. 6 foot symbol monkey with those glowing eyes.
Robert says sleep well tonight, Peter, and hate.
I think it's a monkey emoji.
Oh my god.
Not only is it great because it's a monkey, but it's also an emoji, which we know you have an aversion to. So.
I hate emojis. Hayden says, between the Beast movie last night and this fiendish chimp, will have to monitor Peter's heart. Carol says, hide your wives, hide your kids, hide your wives.
Oh man, it's an absolute thing of beauty.
Hashtag poor Peter.
It is a thing of beauty. So thank you to Spirit Halloween. Thank you to David for sending it in because, yeah, I have been sitting on this. And I thought about showing you right away, but I'm like, no, this has to be on the show. There was a debate where I'm like, maybe I'll just wait till it arrives, you know. What are you giving me that look for?
I'm not going to be in the same house as that fucking thing.
Because the best part would be, though, is if you saw it coming in. You know, come in, do their episode, then you leave, and it's just the box that it's standing on, and the monkey's gone.
Nope.
And those yellow eyes look a lot like the Creepshow monkey.
They do.
That light crowd.
Yeah.
So, great fun. I'm glad everyone was able to experience that. If you're on the podcast, might be worth coming into the YouTube side and at least watching to see Peter's reaction, because it is glorious and it is always fun.
You get to see me die inside.
So then we have the Palaver section, and this is actually short, but we also have an email that we'll read as well. But we have a fun thing that Peter found.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you have something else to bring up, or did you already?
I did have one other thing to bring up. I can bring it up after this.
Okay. So Peter found a quiz site.
Just bunch of quizzes.
Yeah.
Actually, I got to thank my wife. She's the reason I found it. Is the streamer that she watches all the time named Jeremy Dooley was doing a stream, and he wasn't quite done, so he's like, let's go take some quizzes. And he went to this website. It has so many,
it has all
billions
kinds,
of quizzes
all,
on there.
and all different categories. You could have real things like history and stuff. There's
Yep.
pop culture things
there's music, movies, books,
top 10
sports.
Office episodes, like
Exactly.
Scott's Tots.
You have my wife is a huge fan of a certain band. You have ones where it's try to remember the lyrics to this song, and you just have to try and type all the lyrics in a certain amount of time and everything like that. So of course, if I'm going to go take a quiz about something, the first thing I did was Stephen King, and I found a quiz that is see if you can name all of Stephen King's 62 novels.
Yeah, and so this is what it looks like.
10 minutes, 62 novels from 1974 to 2022.
And I'll even give you a spoiler that Fairy Tale is one of them.
Yep.
So it does include that.
2022.
But the other thing too that I found interesting is this is novels, so short story collections don't actually count, but it will take them.
It puts them on there, but it doesn't count it towards the 62.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just like below the 2022, it'll have different seasons. Because I did If It Bleeds.
Yeah, Night Shift.
I just did If It Bleeds. I saw it was extra and it didn't count. And my counter didn't go up. I'm like, okay, no more short stories today. I only got 10 minutes.
So I'll have this on the show notes. You have 10 minutes to do it. Put it in the show notes. What we want is everyone to do it. Screen grab. Because once you're done, whether you run out of time or whether you just give up, because there is a thing that says give up, and then it'll just
under the time limit,
and then it'll show you all the ones in red that you missed. Screen grab that and send it in, and let's go through it and see what everyone got. I got more than Peter did.
Yep.
I screen grabbed mine. Peter didn't because
I should have.
Yeah,
I really should have.
It was you did it before, so there's definitely not whatever. You'll be able to kind of recap what you.
Well, I have
missed or
I have
whatever.
our text conversation too that I can go through.
Yeah.
So it is written down what I got and which ones I missed. And,
Or you could go
and
the
everything.
honor system and just redo it and just know the ones that you missed and don't put those.
I mean, I could. Yeah, I guess.
But it's very interesting.
No. You don't have to know the dates.
Oh yeah.
When you type in,
type in carry, and
Yeah,
then it's going to
autofills it
into night
to the year. You don't have to know what year it came out. Your goal in 10 minutes is just to name as
everyone.
many novels as you can out of the 62.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about date. It'll autofill the date, or it'll place it where it belongs.
Yeah, so when you hit play quiz, you type in fairy tale, it'll auto-populate it into the 2022 year. You don't have to. You don't have to type that. Just the title.
So it's very interesting though, because it's one of those things you're just like, oh, this should be easy, but then as you go for a while,
there's some. And both of us had it where just a little tease for next week. Because we're not going to talk about it too in depth now. We're going to let you guys take the quiz and everything, and then we'll come back next week and talk about it.
I will say one of my bigger shames was Lizzy's story. Primarily because I actually thought about it. I'm like, oh, the Julianne Moore on Apple TV. What was it called? But then another book came to mind,
Popped into
and
your
I
head.
hit that one, and that one sparked something else.
Yep.
And at the end of it, I see Lizzy's story in red. I'm like, motherfucker, I thought of that, and I was trying to think of the goddamn title. So that one's the one that pissed me off. I'm missing the most.
Yeah.
But
Jack says I'm predicting I'll get around 18 to 20. Hayden asked, do the Richard Bachman titles count towards the total? Yes, they do.
Yeah, I believe they do. Yeah.
Yes, they do. I know they do because I did the long walk in it.
Okay. Yeah. So everyone do it. I'll have it in the show notes. Share them to us, whether you do it on social media. Share your screen grab, social media, email, whatever. Send those screen grabs to us, and we'll talk about it next week.
Carol asked, how do I get to the quiz? Sorry, I missed it. It's a website called...
I'll have it in the show notes.
It's in the show notes.
I still have.
Sparkle?
I still have it open, so
What's it
I'll throw it in the chat right now. But save your results for
Sporkle.
next week, though. But
Sporkle.
that's the link straight to the actual quiz for Stephen King. But yeah, we'll talk about that next week for people's results. Everyone, though, whether you're on the podcast, whatever, YouTube with us live, YouTube watching later, listening on the podcast, anything, go do this quiz. Send us your results if you want to be part of it, because we just want to go through. It's kind of a fun little exercise. Like how many?
There's other things too. Also, like there was a really cool one that I did today where it was name the Dark Tower characters. So there's a whole section on Dark Tower. Dude, I got kind of pissed off. It's like
The Stand would be a fun one.
Name the 8 Dark Tower novels. You have 6 minutes. I'm like, motherfucker.
Give me 60 seconds.
6 minutes?
Although, with the Wastelands, a number of people would probably combine those words and not be able to get it. What the fuck? Why isn't it taking it?
I did find that some of the quizzes are very generous with like spelling and stuff, and then other ones you have to get the first and then the last name correctly spelled of the characters. Like I was doing a Batman quiz and it's like ventriloquist and I spelled it wrong.
Yeah.
But then it does like the red line,
Yeah.
And I hit right click and I corrected it. But because I didn't put because the ventriloquist in Batman
Ventriloquist, is that Alfred?
No, ventriloquist. Shut up. Don't you dare disrespect Alfred. He's the Scarface. So it's not just the ventriloquist. It's ventriloquist / Scarface. It didn't count it because it was only half right.
Yeah.
But
I think they're all different.
They're all
certainly,
different. This one is very forgiving and everything like that. So
Carol,
yeah.
6 minutes, name the Dark Tower novels rookies.
I know, that's what I was like. I was like, come on, get out of here with that. But there was a really good one where it was like name the characters, and there was, dude, I totally spaced. I got really kind of mad at myself. Okay, Tad.
Did you get the Jaffords?
No, they weren't on there. Pop quiz, off the top of your head, name the 3 coffin hunters. Big coffin hunters. Go ahead.
Eldred Jonas,
Okay.
Clay Reynolds, Roy DePape.
Yeah, I fucking forgot Clay Reynolds. I was so pissed at myself.
Okay.
Like,
I mean,
how?
honestly, on these episodes, there's been times I've embarrassingly not been able to pull a name, and
Yeah.
people in the chat have to help us. Like, it happens to all of us, certainly. Like, what's that preacher's name again?
Yeah.
In the Kala. I don't know.
What's Callahan's first name?
No,
No, really.
I
I had to remember it because it was one of the quizzes that would not take it without a first
it's
name.
Per Callahan, Father
But
Callahan.
what's his first name?
You don't really get it a whole
It
lot.
absolutely says his first name like several times in the book. I went and looked just to be sure. It says it several times.
Yeah, I can't think of what it is.
It's Donald.
Oh yeah, Donald. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I'm
Yeah.
just like, I feel so dumb forgetting some of this stuff. But this website is a gold mine. If you're bored and you just have like time to waste, go take a quiz.
I should create one. Peter's favorite characters: Rhea the Coos.
No.
Or Sylvia Pittston.
Rio the Coos was one of the characters for the Dark Tower. It's like the witch.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know this one.
Cordelia Delgado.
It said it did son of Roland. I spelled Mordred wrong for like 5
Mordred,
minutes. I'm like,
yeah.
how do you spell it?
Try Jake.
It should have been Jake.
All right. So next up.
Oh no. Remember, I have one more thing.
Oh yeah. That's right.
So I'm going to do it this time. Tad usually does this, so there's no picture or anything like that for us if you just want to go back to like the Palaver slide or anything like that while we discuss this, because it's going to be a little bit of a discussion. I want to do a dream casting. And in honor of Tad being sad about Better Call Saul going off of the air,
Yes, indeed.
Bob Odenkirk, sir. Cast him in the Dark Tower.
Oh, I mean, it's got to be Dandelo.
You think you'd
Dude.
put him as Dandelo?
Oh my God, yeah,
Yeah?
dude, absolutely, absolutely.
Not even a hesitation, not even a thought.
No, he's got
instantly as Dandelo.
He's got to be Dandelo, man.
All right.
I mean, in Better Call Saul, he's proven that he can actually do dramatic, but I could not imagine him doing anything. That would just be the perfect role for him, I think. I'm trying to think just off the top of my head without that initial knee-jerk reaction if there's anything else that would come to mind. But
Yeah.
Dude, he'd be great.
I think he'd be a really good. Is it Pimley, the guy that's the guard, the head guard at
that shoots Eddie in the
that shoots Eddie in the head? Yeah, that is like the leader with the Tahine, not the Tahine one.
Pimley Prentice.
Yeah, Pimley. I think he'd be pretty good as that.
Yeah.
But also like if you want him to be kind of slimy and stuff like that, he's maybe a little bit too old for it, but he could be Henry.
Yeah.
Like an older brother, like had issues and everything like that. And he's maybe there's a bigger age gap between the two of them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Maybe Ben Slightman.
could he be dude? Would he make a good Mort? Jack Mort.
I could see him doing that.
Do you think he
yeah.
could be a creepy Jack Mort?
Yeah, there may be something in the final
I just
season
wanted
that
I had this thought the other day because you were really kind of bummed. You're all excited about Better Call Saul, the last season and everything, and now it's done. And there's that kind of like
to me
but I
the
thought this
ultimate would
a
be
good way to-
the ultimate would be Tony Dalton though, which you would know from Hawkeye, but he was Lalo Salamanca in Better Call Saul, probably one of the best roles in the whole show. Just absolutely stole every scene he was in. That'd be an interesting one to cast in the Dark Tower, and because he's just the most charming motherfucker, but then he'll just his eyes change and he's just dead-eyed
switch.
and he's just just the kind of person that he will just absolutely kill you.
Yeah.
And so he could just be like the most charming dude that you just wanted to sit there and talk in a bar with.
Yeah.
But then his eyes change and it's just
brilliant
actor.
Then you don't want to be in the same room as him.
No, you don't want to be in the same county as him. So that'd be an interesting one. I don't know, Coffin Hunter might be a one for him, or a Jack Mort easily, but I don't know. He's almost too charming. Jack Mort is not. I feel
He's
like
just creepy.
Jack's kind of one of those, like he's an accountant, so like he doesn't have. I don't think there's a lot of accountants that are super like charismatic and bubbly.
No
and
offense
stuff.
to any of the accountants.
No, not at all. But there's a certain style, certainly, right? It's just people's, whatever. It's, but yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to Bob Odenkirk,
Yeah, good. Yeah. I think it's got to be Dandelo though. I think that'd be.
I also think
great.
honestly he'd make he's getting up there a little bit in age, and also he kind of looks a little bit ragged sometimes in the Breaking Bad and the little bit of Better Call Saul that I've watched. Dude, he might be able to pull off Father Callahan a little bit. Make him just a little. You just gotta age him up just a little bit, to make him a Father Callahan.
Yeah, I don't know.
Also, you could make him Took in Wolves of the Collie. He's the shopkeep, and he's
I was say I could see him being like, who's like some of the slimier people
like the slimy,
isn't it like the shopkeeper or Overhoser or something like some of those.
Took is the shopkeeper. Don't let that bumbler in here.
And then there's the big rancher that's like kind of like shady and stuff. That's why I said Ben Slightman too. Yeah. Because he doesn't have to be shady, but he does it so well.
He's so good at it. Yeah.
But now no further ado. Peter's trying to delay us here on
emails. It's the emails. Tad's gonna read us what people wrote to us. I saw Tad's results.
It's not getting deleted, right? What?
God, I saw your results.
I thought I didn't have them in there.
Yeah, they're in there. You have a slide for your results.
I went through it quick.
Nobody pause that. Nobody go back and watch that. Ignore it.
I mean, it's. I thought
no cheating.
I thought I deleted it off there. Huh?
You're on the honor system.
All right. So we actually have an email from Chris from Australia. So he says, "Hi, Tad and Peter. Hello, Chris. And I don't know if he's still in the chat. I know he was here a second ago. Or a bit ago, maybe not a second. He says, as part of a project I'm working on, which always intrigues me to hear.
Oh, boy.
I've recently compiled all the ratings of Stephen King books on Goodreads.com. For those that don't know, this is a website where readers can give books reviews between 1 and 5 stars, and the site averages out all the rankings to give the overall score for the book, much like IMDb ratings for movie or television, but for books. And he says there isn't a whole lot of variation in the averages. He says for Stephen King books, the average ratings go from a low of 3.62. Again, I think that's the problem. Is 1 out of 5 is just such a limited.
It is.
Like I think you got to go 1 to 10. I hate 1 to 5 ratings generally. Mm-hmm. Now, when you could have the point system, technically you've got like a huge range because what is 3.1 versus 3.9, right? But that's why I just like clean, no digit, no decimals, and just go 1 to 10. But 3.62 for the Colorado Kid, up to 4.58. And he doesn't list which one was ranked highest, at least yet. He says, however, given the large number of ratings, even small changes in an average value for each book is statistically significant. In other words, if a book is with a 3.8 out of 5 really does have a statistically higher score than one that's 3.7 out of 5, which makes total sense,
right.
Again, because you compressed all that down into a much smaller scale. So those movements of those scales are significant.
Yeah.
He says, to give an indication of number of reviews on this site, a relatively unknown book like The Colorado Kid has around 45,000 reviews, while it has nearly 1 million.
Good Lord.
Anyway, here's the top 20, and I thought you might like to go through the list as a countdown to the number 1 spot. So any predictions?
On
so
what's
this
number
is
1?
Top 20. So you just predictions in general,
I
like
think the Stand.
like just say like something like, oh, this one might be number 1, or like this one's probably top 10, top 5. Just give me some shotgun.
It, The Stand, The Shining, top 10, top 5. I'll put those 3 in the top 5, and I think The Stand takes number 1.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so let's go ahead and go through it in the countdown way.
Carrie's going to be up there. Firestarter, top 20. Firestarter will be on top 20. Not in the top 10, though. I think it'll be outside of the top 10.
And what I love about this is it's not just someone building a list. Because I think when it's someone building a list, that's where it gets into the... We've even done lists, right? And that's where it gets in the realm where it's like, well, I really want to put Stan at number 1 or whatever. But this is cool because it's like potentially hundreds of thousands of people.
This is thousands of people, at least.
Rating these things. Yeah. And then it aggregating that. So that's kind of a cool...
I think, Mike says, agreed, Peter, the Stand is number 1. Another one, Pet Cemetery is going to be top. I'll put top 10.
Okay.
I don't know about top 5, but I think top 10.
You'll have to keep track of those because my memory. I won't be able to remember all those things you said.
I already forgot what I said. That monkey just keeps flashing across my brain.
Oh, yeah, let me go back to that slide.
No, you do not. Bad tab.
What if I had it set up while we were recording and it was out right near your vehicle?
I think I would punch you for the first time in our friendship.
Oh, that would be great.
And then I'd find an axe and I'd go shining on its ass.
All right, so number 20, The Long Walk.
Okay.
So, yeah. Again, I need to revisit this one at some point because I just didn't. I think I just wasn't in the mood for it. Mm-hmm. So, I know you enjoyed it more than I did. But, yeah, I could see it, though. It's generally one that's very well regarded.
Yep.
In fact, that's why I always feel like kind of like, wow, man, I can't believe I didn't really dig this one as much because I've never heard anyone say anything but, like, adoration for this book. So
does it say what it got?
No, he just has
okay.
top 20. But what he was saying, though, is there's not a lot of variation because...
3.75, 3.8.
So, yes, 3.62 is the lowest one, and that was for Colorado Kid, and the highest one has 4.58. So, 3.6 to 4.6, call it, rounded up a little bit to 4.6. So, you don't have a whole lot there, so honestly, the numbers would be not meaningless, but they don't suss out a lot, necessarily. So, number 19, this one actually surprised me a little bit. End of Watch.
Oh, wow.
But again,
any of the new stuff.
Modern bias.
Yeah.
People buy it, read it for the first time. They're going to immediately go on Goodreads. But has that same person gone back and read Carrie? If they have, did they think to go rate it?
Or if it's someone who read Carrie when they were in high school?
Exactly.
Did they do? And they're doing it now for new things.
Because this is
going back.
Because Movies has one called Letterbox, where you could kind of you can log your movies and rate them. And I'll say that mine is 100%. Like I've gone back and backlogged some things I love, but I can guarantee you there's way more things that have been released the last 20 years on my Letterboxd than stuff, just because it's easier to go, oh cool, I just went and saw Beast, let me go rate it real quick, and whatever. So versus like Scarface, I don't think I probably have that one rated, but I love that movie.
Or Silence of the Lambs. Or
exactly.
Something that came out when you were 5 years old,
Yeah. Next, number 18, not a surprise to see it on here, but maybe surprised it's as low as it is. Number 18 is Dr. Sleep.
Okay.
So kind of on the more modern side, but not, but yeah, just great book. But looking forward to rereading that one for the first time.
I didn't even think about modern novels, honestly, when I was thinking about like what's going to be number one.
Yeah.
And also, still, shame on you for not reading Dr. Sleep more than once. I'm not letting that go. I cannot believe
Will Patton, right? Narrating?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Which is a joy, too.
Patton's
every time I see Will Patton's
good.
name or hear his voice for the first time, I'm just like, thank you.
He narrated something in If It Bleeds, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
If It Bleeds.
He did two of them, I think.
He did If It Bleeds.
Yeah, he did that one, and he did one other one. Because he's the only guy that's narrated Holly. Mm-hmm. So is he going to do the Holly book? That'd better. Nice. He better, dude. Because I actually was bummed at first, because when they initially announced it, they didn't show all the names. So I just saw one or two names, and I'm like, there's a Holly story, and you don't have Will Patton. Like, are you?
What the hell?
No. They did show all the names, but he did an earlier one of the stories too. He did two of them. So when he showed up in one of the other ones, I think it may have been even Mr. Harrigan's phone, maybe. And I remember being like, "Are you fucking kidding me? They wasted him on this, and you've got If It Bleeds coming." So I was just like upset. I'm like, "What the hell?" And they finally got to when he read that one. I was like relieved, because I'm like, I don't want anyone else to voice Holly in my head, because he just does such a good job.
He's great
of it. So. Next one, number 17, The Talisman, mentioned earlier in this episode. Who was it that was reading it for the first time?
Jack.
That's
fitting.
Very envious, because it's a great book. I loved The Talisman. Number 16, the first Dark Tower novel, went through the keyhole.
I forgot about the Dark Towers.
Shame. Yeah, so Went Through the Keyhole, again, modern bias a little bit potentially, because I doubt this Goodreads existed even when the last set of novels were released.
2004.
Probably didn't exist back then. Next one, number 15, Gwendy's Final Task, which is brand new. So people must have really loved that
All
one.
right.
Number 14, The Dark Tower, Wolves of the Kala. So, got yours on there. Number 13, what is it? Forget what? Never mind. Misery. What is it? What does she call him?
Dirty Bird?
That's what I thought, but that doesn't feel right. Yeah, goddamn Annie Wilkes, man. All I can think of is that damn sledgehammer.
Yeah, it's Dirty Bird.
Is it Dirty Bird? That doesn't sound right in my.
You dirty bird. I literally typed in misery dirty, and then it autocompletes.
And what
to
does she
Dirty
talk
Bird.
about? Like the way the pig faces, and that's how she know he got up. Yeah, so Misery number 13. That is a great novel.
It is.
Yeah, but Kathy Bates, can't trust her. Like if she showed up at like a convention.
You know what? If you do anything with that fucking symbol monkey, I'm gonna get Kathy Bates cut out and put it in your house. I'm gonna put it in your back seat. I'm gonna do it.
Oh man,
Get a picture of Kathy Bates and put it on your backup camera
with the hammer.
with the hammer.
Now, again, this is maybe a question for the philosophers, but which hobbling is worse, book or movie?
That's what we were talking about. Because the axe is just it's off and it's amputated, or versus a sledgehammer where it's bam, your foot is smashed. That is literally what we were talking about. It was you. It was it was even a key reference.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know which one would be worse, man. Like
having your foot
because
there's a foot cut off with an axe or a foot smashed with a sledgehammer.
Because there's a chance you could potentially get like reconstructive surgery after your escape and stuff with the foot, and you may have a fairly. I mean, King got hit by a van for God's sake, and he still shows it a little bit, but not much. With losing a foot though, that Paul, he's done. Like that's it. He's in a wheelchair.
He has to have a prosthetic
or a prosthetic or a crutches. Like he is not going to. There's no like recovery from that in a full way. Not saying that obviously there's not.
But
like,
also the thing that we were talking about is, which would you take, knowing like you're going to survive? Which one would you rather live with?
Yeah.
Like the foot getting cut off, okay, it's gone. Get a prosthetic, get that kind of thing and everything like that. Alan, nice of you to join us. No worries about being late. But having it smashed and then having to have the reconstructive surgery. Dude, every time you go into for surgery, it's an ordeal. Like, it's one of those things and everything. No. Oh, my God.
Let's get this conversation animated a little bit here. Oh, my God. Dude, it is so...
Take it off the screen. Oh, my God.
Good. Oh, my God, dude. It's just...
Hayden's probably going to throw up.
Look at the chat. Everyone's reacting.
Change it so I can look at the chat.
Oh, man.
Change it, Tad.
You know how many slides I have to go up here to get...
Change it from the monkey.
Oh.
I could see the reflection. I'm not changing it back to YouTube until you put it back on the email. I switched my screen so it's not on YouTube until you change it from those horrible things.
Oh, let's see. Where are we at?
Emails.
We're on emails. That's right.
Oh, gosh, you monster.
Look at the chat. Everyone's enjoying it in the chat.
No, they're not. No. Fuck. What the fuck? I'm traumatized. Yucky. I'm looking away. Please stop. See?
Jack, the longer the gift played, the funnier it got. Exactly.
No. Hashtag
And,
why is
hey,
is Tad so terrible?
Honestly, I told you weeks ago that I still had those gifts on the slideshow, and I will keep them in my toolbox because you never know when you. So sorry to cut you off on your answer that you were saying.
God.
There, but...
Tad is terrible. One word message from Hayden.
Oh, Alan says it's not the ankle cut from Pet Sematary. I have that one too.
You stop! Don't you dare!
Oh, and then Carol's right. He's not sorry. I'm not.
No,
thank
you're
you,
not.
Alan, for the emojis. Thank you. Appreciate those. But yeah, it's definitely a question for the philosophers because really they both have their
downsides,
upsides. A little. Yeah. Just. But Kathy Bates, man. Ugh.
Ugh.
So number 12, tangenting that all aside. Number 12 is The Institute.
That's a good one.
That's a great one. Number 11, last one before the top 10, a Dark Tower novel, Drawing of the Three. Just missing the top 10.
Ooh.
I will say there is a couple other Dark Tower books above this one. So number 10, This is going to upset you a little bit. It. Again, it said it had almost 1 million ranks.
I get it.
So it's going to...
There's going to be some people upset with some of the stuff in it. I get it.
Yeah. Hayden, more like James can't.
Yeah, show some respect for someone who's recently departed. Let's not put that up on screen.
He's a dirty...
Ever again.
No, I put it on there as a tribute to Mr. Khan. Just like if I was to get, his final demise in The Godfather, But yeah, it at number 10 kind of makes sense. Again, I think when you get more ratings, it's just you're gonna have way more of a variance and like whatever. Like if you got 1,000 people rating something versus 1 million, like you're gonna see some droppage. So it makes total sense. Number 9, The Wastelands. At number 9. So strong Dark Tower throughout. I'm trying to think here. After we're done here, I'll have to count. I think we might have almost everything.
That's 3.
And it went to the Keyhole, Wolves of the Call, Drawing of the 3, now The Wastelands. So 4 of them. Next, number 8, adding to the list, Wizard and Glass. So we got 5. So I'm looking ahead. We are missing some. So next up,
we're missing Song of Susanna.
Wizard and Glass is number 8, and then number 7, The Shining.
Okay, so outside of the top 5.
Yeah,
but top 10.
Yeah,
still.
top 10. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe modern bias, but honestly, great book. Number 6, Billy Summers.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, that's a strong
Really?
one. Number 5, the last Dark Tower book, The Dark Tower.
Really? That's the highest rated one?
Number 5. Yep.
That's interesting.
That is, yeah. Because I think the thing was in the initial decade after the publishing, the ending really soured a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they were the loudest people. Were the people that talked shit on the ending and stuff, and they thought it was a cop out.
Yeah, even Mike says, "Wow."
Yeah, but I think since that first 5 to 10 years, people have come to realize that last book is fucking masterful. Because I don't see as much hate for it nowadays as I used to in the old days. So definitely could see that. But it's interesting because, again, that takes some time. There's a lot of ranking there and stuff. But, yeah, that's I can't necessarily say I disagree. I do think, personally, I think The Wastelands is the best book of the series. Just overall, not necessarily because of its Dark Towerness, but because the story told in it is just so incredibly well done. So, yeah, that's starting in our top 5. Number 4... not a surprise at all. 11/22/63.
Oh, such a good book.
Yeah, very, very, very good.
I really need to get my wife to read that one. I know it's a little bit longer in history and everything like that, but I think she would adore that one.
It's a great one. Yeah, it really is. That's really the book that sparked our view that we're in a golden age of King.
Yeah.
Because I remember after reading that, I was just like,
yep.
Dude, this is as good as almost anything he's ever written.
Mm-hmm.
And it just blew me away. And I'm like, dude, we're in a different golden age here. So, number 3, I am sad to say, The Stand, the complete and uncut edition.
Oh, really?
So, not at number 1. Yep. Let's see. Anything else that I missed in the chat?
Cheryl says, so King can land the ending. It's masterful, Tad.
Yeah, and the ending is incredible in that book, too.
Mike, come on. He says, at Carol, only after the van lands the king.
Number 2, mentioned in this episode, Different Seasons.
Oh, so it's not just novels. Okay.
King books.
I guess.
Yeah, the quiz is novels, but this is... this is Goodreads.
I don't know why
Stephen
I just
King.
assumed it was novels only.
No, but I think short story collections are really hard to rank because they're just, it's such a...
Yeah, where would you rank If It Bleeds?
Yeah, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. There's a lot, because everyone, you've read some of the bigger ones too, because If It Bleeds is tough because there's so little, but on some of those ones that have 20, 25 stories, is there any through line or anything? How do you rank, when some of the stories you love, some of them you hate, so how do you rank it? So the fact that Different Seasons actually is able to rank, not only that it was able to rank, but that it was able to rank so high, I think proves the quality of all the stories. Any predictions at this point, now that you've...
Pet Sematary.
Okay.
It's got to be Pet Sematary.
And I actually think I knew this before. I think I've maybe looked this up or something. I think we actually covered it at one point. There was some article, not necessarily this in depth, but I think there was something that was what's the best rated Stephen King book on Goodreads or whatever. And it is number 1, The Green Mile.
Pet Sematary doesn't make the top 20?
Dude, with the way that book ends and stuff. I mean, I know even Chris from Australia said that he enjoyed it. He'd never read it again. And so when you get like, there's a lot of people like that. Like it's just too dark and grim for a lot of people. So there's probably a lot of people.
Miles #1, huh?
Which makes
Do you
sense.
think the movie plays any part of that?
I actually haven't read The Green Mile. I've only seen the movie. I need to read it because I've never heard a bad thing about it.
I haven't
really.
either.
So, I mean, it could because I mean, different seasons. You've got Shawshank and The Body. So
And Apt Pupil is a
that one is
it's still a well-regarded movie. I've not just heard you talk about it. I've heard other people talk about it.
I think it's good, but I don't think it's nearly as beloved.
No, not compared to The Body or Shawshank.
But it may add some into there. But I do think that I've never heard anyone say anything bad about the novel or The Green Mile, which is it a novel? Because he originally released it in parts, right?
I mean, The Gunslinger's a novel.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Because eventually you do get it published, and like it always weirds me out because it's like it wasn't. Because he wanted it. He did it on purpose too. He wanted it to be released in bite-sized chunks and then done later. So
Alan says even the movie is a friggin' escapade. Got to limit that to an annual watch, but damn, it's good.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
And
again, I realized it recently, man. Darabont is good with the hate, just despised characters. Because Percy and that freaking guy that actually killed the kids, both those characters, man, like they get as close to Mrs. Carmody level of hate, dude, because they're just absolutely the way that freaking Percy treats everyone, the way that freaking that short time you have to deal with that killer on there, he's just an ungodly person. You just like you want to see them just fry, so to speak. And then Chris goes on and says, I've also attached a graph of the top 20 for the YouTube channel. And I didn't want to put that up because we were going through his countdown. And he says, and also the entire data sheet if you're interested. So there, and you can kind of see the rankings and how they actually line out. So you can kind of see there is actually a pretty sharp jump for Green Mile.
It's pretty gradual the rest of the 19, but Green Mile.
Yeah, it's just way up there. So that one kind of, does this make you actually want to potentially read it?
I already had it on my wish list for
does this kind of like make you reevaluate like maybe where on your list it would be?
Is I have the Kindle version of it, so maybe I'm tempted to just go read it, yeah, instead of listening to it. I don't know.
Yeah. Then Chris says, I thought it was fascinating to see that 6 of the 8 Dark Tower books are on the top 20. Likewise, it's interesting to see Billy Summers and the Institute rate so highly. Yeah, and I mean, you kind of heard us, Chris, as you were listening. We had the same reactions.
Interesting, the 2 that didn't make it for the Dark Tower, Song of Susanna and the Gunslinger.
Yeah,
but we have heard negative things about both of those books more than any of the others.
Certainly, yeah. I still think Song of Susanna doesn't deserve it, man. I just think people, it just blurs in their mind. 6 and 7 are one book, and I just don't think people really give Song of Susanna the credit that it deserves, because there's a lot of really cool shit in that book. I noticed it last time I went through. Some of my favorite stuff in that tail end of the story, before things go bleak, are in that book.
Yeah.
And he says, otherwise, many of the usual suspects are listed. Green Mile, Shining, It, The Stand, Misery, but some are not. Carrie, Pet Cemetery, Salem's Lot, all did not make the top 20.
Firestarter didn't.
And Cujo ranked very poor at the 58th. So
when you kill a kid.
You think that's it?
Even if it is one evilly named Tad, so.
Oh, no, sir. Hashtag all Tads are saints.
Don't ever trust Tads. Don't. I will leave.
It says another interesting thing. As you know, The Green Mile was initially released as a series of 6 novels over the course of 6 months.
Yeah.
Each of those are novellas. Each of those novellas scored higher than The Green Mile as a complete serial novel. If I'd left them in, then The Green Mile and its various incarnations would have filled the top 7 spots.
Wow.
So. Yeah, it's not a fluke. Like, not only
highly regarded that much, huh?
Yeah, which is
we need to read it.
I think I might be evaluating that one a little bit higher. Because see, then I was just in my head earlier in the episode, I was like, I'm gonna put Regulators and Desperation on my list for my next 2 new ones. But now this is making me question things a little bit. He says, anyway, I know you enjoy a good top 10, or in this case, top 20 list, and you know us well, Chris, as much as me, and it sounds like the mailbag is getting a little empty, so I thought I'd send this your way for perusal and discussion. As usual, thanks for the great show. Long days and pleasant nights. Chris from Australia. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
And may you have twice the number. He also gave this other data sheet. I think this is everything. And this is really hard to see on the screen, obviously. But, yeah, it's...
Colorado kids down there under 3.5.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold on. Zoom and enhance.
This isn't CSI. I can't just click keys and have it happen, unfortunately.
No,
But,
I'm doing the zoom and enhance. That's why I'm going down.
let's see. Carol says.
Tommy Knockers is fourth from the bottom. Fuck you, Tommy Knockers.
Carol says, due to the content material, I've never read or seen The Green Mile. Mike says it gets dark. Carol says, yeah, watching people of color being imprisoned and abused just hits too close to home for me. And then she says, wow, that's a graph. Green Mile's a tough one, man. That's
all right.
Like, in my mind, it's kind of in the same vein of like Schindler's List. Like, I can't just watch The Green Mile. That one's one I really have to prep myself for, and I really have to, like, I don't know, be ready for, because it is sad, and it's
31 for Song of Susanna.
31st. 31st out of which isn't bad. That puts it in the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Chris. That's a great email.
Mike says the worst rated is still a 68%.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And that's the thing is, and which is interesting too, because I don't know how Goodreads does it. Like if they do anything to like stop like rating bomb people, or if like because there's a whole realm of people that hate Stephen King. They're becoming less and less because I think a lot of them have died because they were older people. I think younger people are way more accepting. But I just wonder if they do anything to stop rating bomb people, because I feel like King does kind of have that. Like, I still see people on the book subreddit and stuff that sometimes they'll just, like, shit on King. Like, there's not a lot of them. There are people that do it, and I just wonder, are they people that will just not engage him at all, or will they go on there and rate his shit really low, or does it really matter because there's so many people rating these things? So,
exactly.
I don't know. It's definitely interesting. It's pretty cool, and I'm intrigued. I feel like Chris gave us a little tease there by saying it's a project I'm working on.
Yeah.
We still need to have him on for the last project he did.
Oh, yeah. We do.
So maybe we'll have to get in touch with him and figure that out. I think he was in the chat earlier, because it kind of confused me because he and Carol messaged right back, and they both have a red orange C as their thing. So I'm like, oh, Carol, and then I'm like, oh wait, no, Chris is in there too. So I don't know if he's still with us, but we'll have to have him on for to talk about his. I'm trying to remember which one his last one was. We both geeked out over it. But blanking on what it is now.
Did we even talk about it? I think
we did a tiny bit,
we?
but we held off a lot because we want to have him on and actually talk to him about it. But always great to see the stuff that Chris makes. It's always fun. But yeah, that is going to do it for the episode. Let's so we have a reminder before we get too deep into the outro. We'll be back next week for Roundtable 126. So send in your King novel quiz.
If I'm not here in person, it's because of him.
No, I don't know about that, sir.
I'm telling you, I'm not coming over if that damn monkey's in your house.
What if it's in the house but not visible to you? What are you going to search all the rooms, or do you just think you'll sense it?
Oh, I'll sense it.
I've already told you the original, real, normal symbol monkey, Jolly Chimp is its real name, that I did order from Japan. I already told you that's going in the office at work. That's not a.
That, sir, is a hate crime.
That's not a hate crime. Well, I hated it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. Yeah, so everyone do your quiz thing for Stephen King novels and screen grab that and send them on in. We'll discuss that next week. And I don't know. News has been so-so. I mean, like I said, this is not only a week later than we normally do it, but we also had a book club before this. And honestly, there wasn't as much news there normally is. So honestly, we might have maybe some comic books to talk about next time. We have the second issue we still need to dive into for the Dark Tower comic books. So, and I don't know, we'll maybe have some Palaver questions. But yeah, send in your quiz stuff. We'll have all that next week with Roundtable 126. So let's go ahead and hit the outro stuff. If you guys want to subscribe to us on any podcasting delivery service of your choice, you could do that. You could stream us on Spotify or Stitcher. Join us for the live streams at youtube.com/DarkTowerPalaver. If you're listening and you've heard all this response, both what we've read, and there's plenty of stuff going on in the chat, even that we don't read. If you want to be part of that, and if you want to join the show live and see Peter's torment in real time, potentially add to Peter's torment by sending emojis, or maybe I really wish people could send pictures in the chat, because then they could send Jolly Chimps and all such things. But or tell Peter there's a beast behind him. That thing. If you want to do things like that, join us on our live streams. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications, so you could be here to torment Peter live on a bi-weekly basis every fortnight. So
Please don't. Please be nice.
and if you want to find the show notes, you can do that over darktowerpalaver.com. I'll have all the links, including the link for the quiz over there. I'll also have the link to the giant 6-foot symbol monkey if you want one of those for your own home. I will have the link to that as well, so you can go over there to Halloween Spirit Halloween shop and order that, have one delivered to your house. Probably comes in a wooden crate, much like Creepshow, is my guess. It just seems like how I would ship it if I was Spirit Halloween. And then if you want to join support the show, you can do that at Patreon at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. If your tormenting of Peter is not enough once every other week, you can join us on Patreon and be in our Discord server and torment him all the time. Send him Jolly Chimps and, American Werewolf in London and lions and all kinds of things like that. You can all do all that over on the Patreon. At patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. And if you want to contact us, Peter, if he is still speaking, can tell you how to do that.
Best way to reach us is by email. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @DarkTowerPod. That's @DarkTowerPod. That's where that horrible chimp was sent. You can also find us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/DarkTowerPalaver. And our Instagram is DarkTowerPalaver, all one word. And if you want to support the show, you can go to tpublic.com/users/DarkTowerPalaver
and
get the truth. #Tad is terrible.
You're
a monster, and you need to be stopped.
No, we need to get a design that says, not Tad isn't terrible, because that still feels like negative connotations, but like Tad is good or something. Just an alternate, so people could support the truth if they want to, if they don't want to slander, if they want the truth.
Hayden says a symbol of goodwill.
Oh, let's see. Jack says for balance, I think Peter could get a hedge maze monster that looks like a Saint Bernard for Tad. Now that's not nice.
No, I like that.
That's not nice.
Saint Bernards are lovable creatures.
No, they're monsters. They're beasts. Like if like Clifford was a Saint Bernard, they would have just shot it right away.
No,
they would have just been like, wait, this thing was born like 10 feet tall. Let's just kill it now before it grows full size.
Nope.
Because I just can't.
You got to remember, Clifford's a little itty bitty runt puppy, so he doesn't even look big when he's born.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't trust it. #Tad is tolerable. That's a good hashtag. Mm-hmm. #Tad is accurate. That's I think what the other T-shirt should be. Tad is accurate, or Tad is accurate. Yeah. But so we will be back in a week. Join us here, same bat time, same bat channel. In a week from now on the 27th is, I guess, will be the date. Yes, yeah. 27th. And fill out those quizzes. Let's see what you guys all get. Screen grab them, send them. We'll share them on the show, talk through it, and see. We're all sharing embarrassments, right? We're all going to have at least one thing we're embarrassed of like, God damn it, I really should have got that one.
I forgot Misery.
I mean, I wish I could forget Kathy Bates sometimes.
How do I forget Misery, Tad?
When's the last time you read Misery?
It doesn't matter. Annie Wilkes is alive and well, so we have to remember her.
Yeah, because you're a dirty bird. That's why you forgot it.
Bird.
That's why you forgot it. All right, so
I hope you get hobbled one day.
That's a hell of a thing to say.
Yeah, well, look at how much you put me through.
So if Peter survives the week, he'll be back with us in a week. But we'll sign off as we always do by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
All right,
you're such a damn monster.
Everyone in the chat, thank you guys for joining us. You guys are awesome. Plenty of you helped antagonize Peter along with me here, so that was great. What? I mean, you've said it yourself. Like your heart's been racing because of beasts and stuff, and symbol monkeys are all over the place. You never know when one might happen. So just.
I'm going to have to get like a therapist for this trauma.
But thank you guys for joining us. Definitely too many people to go through and list. You guys are awesome, though. Love having you guys all part of the conversation. Always lively and fun. But this one felt especially lively. Felt like everyone was on their top game here. A lot of fun shenanigans. So we'll see you guys in a week, and we'll sign off until next time.
Bye, everyone.